Stand up, New York Giant fans. How's everybody doing out there? Big news today in the New York Giants world. We're going to talk about all of it. New York Giants got down to their final 53. I'll give some of my thoughts. I don't think the roster's over with yet. I'm going to talk some about that when I break down the roster and some of the decisions that the New York Giants decided to make. I think they're going to still go out there. They're going to scour the market. And I think we're still going to make a couple more acquisitions. I'll talk more about that as the stream goes along. And, of course, in my opinion, the biggest news of the day, the New York Giants, Trader Dave, as many have started to call him, made another trade. 2 straight days in a row, the New York Giants went out there. They acquired another hog molly, another offensive lineman. I need everybody in the chat. You guys know I love hogs. I need everybody in the chat to start spamming some hogs. But what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. Bryce, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. He says, hello there. What's going on, Bryce, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, my man. And NY Giants 26 says, Bredeson, I like it. Has potential to be very good. We're going to get more into the details of the trade. I'm going to pull up what's going on there. MG, what's going on? John, what's going on? George, what's going on? James, what's going on? Joshua Grant, what's going on? Joey, Word in the chat. Rieger in the chat. MG in the chat. Thank you to everybody for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. E. Mario, Evan Spitzberg, Nicholas. I'm going to get into a lot of the specifics of the trade today. I'm going to break down the roster. I'm going to get my full opinion on it. I got a lot of quotes that I want to pull up for you guys about the new acquisition. We're going to talk about him, and I'm excited. I think it was a good move by the New York Giants. They didn't give up anything, at least in my opinion. It's a no risk here with potential very high reward, and at a bare minimum, you're filling an immediate need in terms of depth on the offensive line. At a bare minimum. That's what we're going to be getting here in this trade, and he may even have the possibility of starting. I don't think he'll start the year. He has no chemistry with these offensive linemen, but it's possible if there's injuries or guys that are struggling, he could step in, and he definitely has some upside. We'll talk about him throughout the stream. Joey, man, thank you very much. Stand up. I like the moves we made today. In terms of the trade, there's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing to be upset about with the trade. I think it was a fantastic trade. I'm super excited about it. I think there's a couple of things on the roster that are interesting. Sam Beal's back. I'm sure a lot of you guys aren't too thrilled about that. The Jonathan Harrison thing to me was a little questionable, but then they went out and made this move, so obviously understandable after that. Grimman, thank you very much. Think we target a tackle in a trade or free agency? Yes. I don't think it'll be in a trade. I think we're going to add another offensive lineman, and yeah, based off the guys that we've brought in via trade, I think it's going to be a tackle, like you said. We've brought in a guard. We've brought in a center with these last 2 trades. If we're going to bring in another guy off waivers, right now we only have 8 offensive linemen on the roster. We're going to get into the roster in a minute. I think we're going to go for 9, and I think it will be an exterior offensive lineman if I had to guess. JD, man, thank you very much. How pumped are you, Tana? Let's go. 11 wins. I don't give a blank. I love the optimism. Listen, we're all down in the dumps, and I'm sure there's still a lot of – listen, it's still highly questionable. Our offensive line is still highly questionable. The tackles – still very questionable. We don't know what Andrew Thomas is going to be like. Hopefully he takes a major step this year. Matt Parrott's been very questionable, but it's nice to see the New York Giants finally starting to address this offensive line, something we've been screaming about for the last month. I was, as you guys know, was a big proponent of the New York Giants going out there and drafting a first-round offensive lineman. They decided not to go that route, stick with the youngsters, but I'm at least pleased at this point, even though I wouldn't have done what they did. I love the trade down. I love the value that we got, but I would have addressed the offensive line in the draft. At least they're starting to address it now. And the one thing I love about both of these moves, they're high upside players. You're talking about a former first-round pick in Billy Price yesterday. Now you're talking about a guy that was rated the 4th best guard in the 2020 draft class. And a lot of people say, well, he didn't play. Well, yeah, of course he didn't play. He was playing for the Baltimore Ravens. Have you ever seen that offensive line? They're absolutely loaded. Ravens, of course, went out there and got Kevin Zeitler this year from the Giants. And I think that ultimately is what is the reason why the New York Giants were able to get the player they got today. Ryan, man, thank you very much. I see a typo on the roster. Says Ingram is not cut. Yeah, get used to that typo for a bit, my man. Yuri, man, thank you very much. Dave Gettleman dialing the hogs. Bredeson is Lemieux draft mate. Yeah, well, Lemieux is actually rated, it depends on where you look. But by most people, he was rated like the 6th best interior offensive lineman. Bredeson, however it's pronounced, out of Michigan. He was rated the 4th best. So he was regarded as a better prospect coming out of college. And, neither one of them has played that much. So you would think they're at least on even footing. So if Lemieux's still a little bit banged up with the knee or he's not playing well, this is a guy who could really step in and I think hopefully has potential to do a good job. The other thing I want to talk about him, and I'm going to go over all the notes, he's known specifically to be a run blocker. And when you look at the offensive lineman the Giants have brought in, it's the same thing with Price. Price is a mauler. And the more and more that I'm thinking about it with the offensive line we've brought in, I think the New York Giants are going to come out with a run-heavy approach this year. Like I've said, they're clearly going to try to stretch the field with the weapons they've added, but they're going to try to pound the rock, especially when you look into the background of our new offensive line coach. Bryce, man, thank you very much. David Sills. I know, Sills Army, I'm sure there's a lot of you guys in here right now. Sills Army's upset. I get it. You guys absolutely love David Sills. And I never thought he was going to make the team, and then I started to buy into it because all you guys were selling me on him. I know everybody was super hopeful that he would make the team, and he ultimately did not make it. The Giants did go with 7 wide receivers. C.J. Board always had the leg up on him because of his special teams, and they went with Dante Pettis, who, if I'm being honest with you, as much as I like Sills and was rooting for him to make this team, I don't blame the Giants for keeping Pettis. Pettis is, I think, a pretty good wide receiver. I think he did a pretty good job for the Giants last year in limited time, so I'm glad he made the team. Hopefully Sills doesn't get claimed. If he does, best of luck. If he doesn't, I'm sure the New York Giants will bring him back on the practice squad. And with all the injury-prone players we have at that position, I think there's a good chance he's going to make it onto the roster this year at some point in time if he does, in fact, come back to the New York Giants. Josh, man, thank you very much. Shane back at practice today. I saw that right before I went live. I saw that on Twitter, which is great news. The only guy that is out is Evan Ingram. I haven't seen an update on the calf injury in terms of how long it's going to be. We're going to have to wait and see until we get details on that. But I did see that about Shane Lemieux back at practice, which is great. Hasn't been out there in a long time for the Giants. Wilbert, man, thank you very much. Seems like Gettleman is panicking with these trades. Maybe he regrets not addressing the offensive line earlier like the rest of the world expected him to do. Hey, man, listen, at the beginning of the draft, there were a lot of fans that wanted wide receivers. Not every fan wanted an early offensive lineman. Some fans did want a 3rd round, a 4th round offensive lineman. And yeah, I think they absolutely should have addressed it. I don't even think this is necessarily panicking. I mean, you could say that, but I've said all along after the draft that I think the Giants were smart to wait until the last minute, smart until you wait till guys start to get cut off rosters, because those are going to be the best offensive linemen. The guys who are getting cut when you're dropping from 90 to 85 or 85 to 80 are going to be like the scraps, like camp bodies. So I always thought this was going to be the time when the Giants attacked, and the fact that you wait until the last day before they have to make their cuts, you know that team is desperate. So basically, and we're going to get into the exact specifics, but when you look at this trade, I don't see a reason to complain. You're getting an offensive lineman who, like I said, was a 4th-round offensive lineman last year. The only reason he hasn't played, he had 50 snaps last year. The only reason he hasn't played is because of how good of an offensive line the Baltimore Ravens have. They initially brought him in there, I'm assuming, as a depth player, which is what you should do when you draft an offensive lineman in the 4th round. It's just that the New York Giants offensive line is so bad, we're forced to start those guys in their rookie years. But I think that was always the expectation there. And we got a 4th-round guard. And what we gave up a 4th-round pick, which is probably going to be, I'll say 117, 118. It's going to be kind of in the middle of the 4th round. More than likely, hopefully it's at the end. Hopefully we'll win the Super Bowl. But realistically speaking, probably in the middle of the 4th round. We get a 5th-round pick. We'll say even it's at the very back end of the 5th round. You're talking a difference of maybe 45 picks or so there. And you're getting the 4th-round lineman. And you're getting a future 7th-round pick. When you're going as far back as the 4th and 5th round, I don't think the Giants gave up a whole lot. They didn't give up much here at all. And I don't really see a reason not to like this trade. I do think they should have addressed it in the draft, though. There's no denying that. Let's see. I hope I didn't miss somebody here. I got Wilbert and Grimmet. Thank you very much. Bredeson could start if Lemieux isn't ready week 1. He could start if Lemieux is ready week 1 if he was on this team. The fact that he doesn't have familiarity with the guys on the roster, I don't think he'll start. But I'll tell you this, if Lemieux's not getting the job done, it's very possible he could take his job sooner than later. Because like I said, he was the more highly regarded prospect coming out of college. Ian, man, thank you very much. 3 tight ends on the roster. Definitely going to make another move to bring in 100%. And we're going to talk about the roster when I get an opportunity to do it. But you look at the roster right now, we got 3 tight ends, and Evan Ingram, there's a strong possibility he's not going to play week 1. And we'll see. Hopefully he does. But obviously with the calf injury that he sustained, we're going to get the reports from the doctors. But it's far from a sure thing. And if that's the case, they absolutely have to go out there and pick up a tight end. A really good one, actually, was cut today. Hollister, who was, I think, with the Seahawks. I remember I had him on my fantasy team, actually, a couple of years ago. He's a solid tight end. Maybe the New York Giants could go out there and try to grab on a cheap contract, but they're going to need a body at that position, 110%. But Ian, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it, buddy. And John Kim, what's going on, man? We gave up a 2022 4th-rounder for Ben B, 2022 5th-rounder, and the 2023 7th-rounder. Dave Gettleman should still draft an offensive line in the past draft where it was stacked with talented offensive linemen, probably regretting it now. Yeah, here's what I'll say. We won the trade. we still made a mistake by not drafting an offensive lineman. And I'll say that until he proves me wrong. I'm going to give him the opportunity to prove me wrong. I'm going to hope that these guys that he drafted in 2020 take a monumental leap this year. It's why I'm not going to go crazy until I see it. I'm going to give them the opportunity. They're paid professionals. Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge, they work collaboratively. They came to the decision that the players they drafted in 2020 are going to be much better in 2021. They're more knowledgeable than I am, or they should be. That's for damn sure. And I'm going to give them the opportunity to prove me wrong. But I'm going to tell you what, if I'm proven right, which I'm praying I'm not, I'm a New York Giant fan, I'm going to come down on them. But I'm going to give them the opportunity this year to prove me wrong. But I would have drafted an offensive lineman. Julian Love, what's going on, my man? I hope you get an opportunity to play this year. Chris has the most contagious laugh. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Julian Love, man. Looking forward to seeing you out in the football field this year. And I think you can be, at a bare minimum, a very good special teams contributor. T-Boy, thank you very much. Thoughts on two fullbacks, and we're going to get into that as well, the full roster for the New York Giants. I still don't know if Gillespie is going to make the team. Yes, it's definitely questionable. The New York Giants going with two fullbacks. People have talked about this in the past. The reason we brought in Owen Gillespie was because of his special teams, and we know we have a head coach, Joe Judge, that prioritizes special teams. So that's the main reason why we brought him in the first place. But I'm still a little bit surprised. He still may not make this team. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't. We could drop him to pick up a tight end, put Gillespie on the practice squad. So that remains to be seen. But if he does make the final 53, yeah, it is a little weird having two fullbacks on the final 53. A lot of teams in the NFL don't even carry one fullback. And last year, the New York Giants didn't use their fullback, Eli Penny, nearly as much as I was anticipating that they would. If you look at the Cowboys offense in the past, I was expecting them to use the fullback. I think they only used Penny like 11% of the time. I was expecting more like 25% of the time. So a little questionable there. But again, I don't know if he's going to be on the final roster. And the reason he's rostered is for special teams more so than the fullback itself. Bill, man, thank you very much. Should we really expect Bredeson and the other offensive linemen deep in other teams' depth charts or waived are going to make a big difference? We need starters, bro. Bill, I told you all along I would have drafted a lineman. And at this point in the game, this is the best you're going to do. And the way I look at it, Bill, even though and rightfully so, you definitely have questions about this offensive line. You got to make something out of a bad situation. And right now, the New York Giants offensive line is a bad situation. They have bad depth. This is a guy, the two guys they brought in at least have a lot of upside. They're both young, and maybe the New York Giants feel if they could coach them up, they could be productive offensive linemen for this football team. I think the plan is for both Price and Bredeson, or Bredeson, however it's pronounced, is not to play this year. They brought them in here to be depth offensive linemen. I think they still believe in the five guys that they were going with at the start of the year, but we all know that they're all highly questionable. We've already had some injury scares with Lemieux. So I think it was a necessary move. I think it was a good move. But are these guys going to be all pros? No, don't bank on that. He's definitely got potential, though. There's no denying it. He's definitely got some potential, I think. John, man, thank you very much. Beal will be cut when Aaron Robinson comes back. Yeah, but he's on the pup, so he won't be back until week 7. And who knows, what Beal's looking like by then. And we'll see. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure Robinson can't come back till week 7. I think he's forced to miss the first 6 weeks, which is unfortunate. He was a player I was really looking forward to getting to see at the beginning of the year. Blue Collie says, do you think the alarms are going off and they realize the O-line is not gelling? Does these last 2 weeks say our offseason and draft were short-sighted? Here's what I'm going to say. There's no denying it. I think the New York Giants realized that they needed depth on the offensive line. If we're being fair, and I think they made the wrong decision. I'm going to continue to say that before I answer these questions. I would have drafted an offensive lineman very early in the draft. They went into this offseason assuming that Zach Fulton was going to be a part of the rotation. He unexpectedly retired. They couldn't bank on that. And at that point in time, I think the New York Giants said to themselves, we're going to wait it out. Because, like I said earlier to somebody earlier, the longer we wait, the better players are going to become available, and the more teams are going to be desperate to have to give us guys for pennies on the dollar, which is basically what we got here. We basically got this lineman for next to nothing. You're talking about a 4th-round pick just a year ago. You get a 5th and a 7th for a 4th. So it's a pretty good. We didn't give up much, and I think the New York Giants knew when they were in the position that they were in, the longer they waited, the better deals that they would get. And I still think they're going to add another offensive lineman off of waivers. I still think that. I think we're going to add another tackle, but we'll see. But thank you very much, Luke. I appreciate it. But I thought this all along about, a month or 6 weeks ago that they were going to wait until the very end to start making real additions to this offensive line. I thought they'd bring in some camp bodies along the way, which they kind of did. But the guys that were going to be the final part of this roster, I thought they would wait until the very end because that's when the names were going to become available. A pimp named Slickback, thank you very much. Yeah, but let's not pretend like all is well. This is pieces attached to a scrap heap. The trades are fine. Don't bank on a massive improvement to the offensive line. listen, if we're going to have a massive improvement to the offensive line, it's not going to be because of Bredeson. It's not going to be because of Price. It's going to be because of Andrew Thomas, and it's going to be because of Matt Perry. And obviously Will Hernandez, who's looked very good. But those two young tackles are going to have to be better than what a lot of people are expecting. That's how this offensive line could take a massive jump. But I think you'd agree with me at Pip Nation. It's good that we made these moves. We needed improved depth on the offensive line. We saw the second unit in these preseason games, and it was god-awful. And I think it was really good to make these moves and get these players in here. But by no means am I trying to tell anybody that I'm completely sold on this offensive line. I still think it's questionable. I'm still scared going into the season. But I'm a little bit more relieved that I feel like we have guys that could play a little bit better coming off the bench if we're in a pinch. So I think it was a really good move. But yeah, I mean, you agreed with me in the offseason, man. We were on the Rashawn Slater train all the way. But I still think it was a good move. And Max, I just want to make sure I didn't skip anybody. Seems like I already got that. But I don't like missing these because sometimes they skip. So let me just make sure. Yeah, okay, we're good. Max says, who is the long snapper with Crowder cut? Yeah, I was going to get into that as well. I think that was a move, Max, where Crowder is obviously not on the initial roster, but they're going to sign him back. Probably tomorrow is from what I read. I think what they're going to do, Ellerson Smith right now is on the roster. Ellerson Smith is banged up. I think they'll put Smith on the IR, and I think they'll call Crowder back up. Crowder's going to be the long snapper from what I read. He didn't make the initial 53 roster, but he's going to be a part of it. The New York Giants are doing some finagling with guys on the roster. They wanted to make sure that they were able to keep Ellerson Smith and that he wasn't going to be forced to have to miss 6 games. That's why they didn't want to put him on the PUP. In order to do that, I think you have to roster him, then put him on the IR. So my guess would be that spot will go to Casey Crowder. And if it doesn't go to Casey Crowder, eventually there's going to be a spot that goes to Casey Crowder. It's possible that they roster Gillespie with intentions to put him on the practice squad, and they didn't want anybody to claim him. Who knows? They're going to do some things, though, and he's absolutely going to be the long snapper for this football team. They're just finagling some roster spots right now. So that's the line of thinking there. But, Max, thank you very much. Yuri says, should we take a look at Jacob Holliday? I actually just said that. Yeah, I think we should. I think there's a couple of players I really want to take. There's a couple of tackles. There's a number of them. I mean, I go down, at least there's like 5 or 6 that are available that I think they should take a look at as well. We'll see what they do. I think they need to add a tight end, and I think they need to add a tackle. That's what I think they need to do over the next couple of days, with some of these moves that they could still make. Those are the 2 obvious needs right now with Evan Ingram banged up. And that's what I think they'll do. I think Caden Smith's obviously going to have a major role for this team now the first couple of weeks if Evan Ingram is unable to go, but you still definitely need to add another tight end. Cruz on, man, thank you very much. I would have taken Slater and say screw the trade. Yeah. Cruz on. We think alike when it comes to the line. We may not think alike with everything. When it comes to the line, we think alike. I was pumping Slater up from the beginning. I would have taken Slater over Devontae Smith. I would have taken Slater over Jalen Waddle. I saw our offensive line. I saw that we signed Kenny Golladay. And I said to myself, yeah, it'd be nice to have another weapon, but you got to make sure that your quarterback can stand upright. So I'm with you. That's what I would have done. Can't do it. We're in the situation we are now. This is a good trade, but I'm with you, man. I would have taken a lineman. And Cruz on, all this does, in my opinion, by not taking an early lineman in this year's draft, is it's delaying the inevitable. You're kicking the can down the road. You're going to have to draft an early lineman next year. Because there's no way, as much faith as the coaching staff and the GM may have in all these young offensive linemen, and some of them may work out, not all 5 are going to work out. And they're going to need to address it again. So I personally would have went the same route that you just suggested. Bryce, man, thank you very much. What's your opinion on Randy Moss's son? He got cut today as well. Thaddeus Moss, you're talking about the tight end. Not saying he's definitely the best depth pick for tight end, but what's your opinion? Yeah, I remember when he was coming out of the draft last year, a lot of people wanted us to draft him. I think he went undrafted, if I'm not mistaken, and then somebody signed him as an undrafted free agent. He just got cut today. I actually saw that right before I went live. I don't know. I mean, I think we need a tight end. If that's the guy that they want to take a look at, by all means. I remember a lot of people liked him because he was Randy Moss's son. I didn't do a lot of research on him because I didn't think we were drafting a tight end in the 2020 draft. But, yeah, I remember the name, and I think he went undrafted. A lot of people wanted us to take him in the 7th round. Sean, man, thank you very much. Chris, if our O-line isn't looking good after week 3, we're going to need you to suit up and hit the field. You know what, Sean? By week 3, I think I'm just going to have auditions for offensive linemen on my stream. We'll get to take a look at them, and we'll see what their body looks like. Maybe we'll get to see them hit the pad, and maybe the New York Giants could watch the stream and try to roster a couple of them on the football team. We might be that desperate. Tom, man, thank you very much. Freddie Kitchens will be the OC by week 8 at the latest. It's possible. Hopefully not. I mean, if that happens, that's bad news. That means his team's having a bad year. Hopefully not, but it's certainly possible if the offense isn't getting it done that they may make some changes, whether that means appointing Kitchens or whether that means maybe giving Judge more say in the play calls, whatever. I personally think it's already a collaborative effort. I know a lot of people say it's Garrett, rightfully so. The offense was not good last year. I still think Joe Judge has a lot of say in the offensive play and the full offensive philosophy that this team has. I think he has his fingerprints on a lot of the parts of this team. But we'll see in season. I don't want that, though. I want Garrett to do a good job, and I want the New York Giants to have a good offense this year, but we'll see. John, man, thank you very much. Chris, ownership said he needs to see the playoffs this season if Daniel Jones and the offensive line can't get it together by midseason, and our record is leaning. First off, John, ownership did not say that. You may have interpreted it that they said it that way, but ownership did not say that. Mara did not come out and give a playoff mandate. He even specifically went on to say that I am not going to give a playoff mandate. He said he needed to see an improved product, and by the end of the year, he needed to feel that we were headed towards a Super Bowl contender. I personally think a winning record is going to be the expectation for this team this year, though. I think 9 wins is a fair expectation. But let's read the rest of it. Together by midseason, and our record is leaning towards top 10. Do you see Dave Gettleman getting fired midseason? Also, thoughts on Cam? No. I think Gettleman will get fired at the end of the season if it's a disappointing year. I don't see them making a change from within season. I'd be very surprised if they did that. But after the season, yes, I could see them making a move. Say we win 6 or 7 games and they feel like we need to do a restart. Yes, I don't think it would happen within season. As far as Cam Newton goes, I saw that was like the hot topic on Twitter. I'm like, I'm not even going to touch that. There is no way. And I know a lot of Giants fans in here may want Cam Newton. And Cam Newton, by the way, is one of my favorite players. Okay? I want to start off by saying that. I actually really like Cam Newton. I've always rooted for Cam Newton. I always thought he kind of got treated unfairly by the media. Always seemed like a friendly guy when he handed the ball to the kids. I like Cam Newton. I don't want Cam Newton. Cam Newton is not the type of player I want. He's on the wrong side of his career. Even if you bring him in here, he's a stopgap quarterback. I want to find out what I have in Daniel Jones. That's just my personal opinion. I don't want Cam Newton. I don't need Cam Newton. Next year, if Daniel Jones was very bad, I look for a stopgap quarterback potentially like a guy like Cam Newton. But this year, I want to put full confidence in Daniel Jones, and I want to see what he can do for this organization. That's what this year is about. If it doesn't work out, you rip it up. That's my take on the quarterback situation this year. I don't want Cam Newton. Even if we got Cam Newton, it's not like he's going to win us a ton of football games. He wasn't very good last year with the New England Patriots. He's not the same quarterback that he was. So I don't see the need to bring in Cam Newton. That's just my honest opinion on it, but that's why I didn't touch it on Twitter, because I know there's probably a lot of people watching this that want the Giants to get Cam Newton. Bryce, man, thank you very much. Bando could probably play some tight end. What do you say? He could probably play tight end. I don't know, man. I think he's more of a defensive guy. He'd probably scare the hell out of me if I was on offense. I think he's more of a linebacker, maybe a safety. But yeah, for sure. And Scott, he says, hey, Chris, what are the worst 3 moves that Gettleman has made for us? Baker, Solder, and maybe trading when we did for Leo. Or the Leo thing, I'm going to say no. You could definitely make it. I understand it still why people criticize it, but that's definitely not in his worst 3 moves. It ended up being a pretty good move. The Jets didn't get anything with those draft picks, and Leonard Williams is one of the best players on this team, so that's certainly not one of his worst 3 moves, at least in my opinion. The Solder thing was definitely a very bad move. I would not put it as one of his worst 3, and the reason I'm going to tell you that, even though it was a bad move, it was an understandable move. Like, I think almost every Giant fan in here watching this, when Gettleman made that move, they said, yeah, I get it. We need a left tackle. He's the best left tackle available. I think we all understood it. So it was a bad move. He definitely should be judged harshly for that move, but because it was understandable and I felt like he was almost forced to make that move, that wouldn't be one of my bottom 3 moves for him either. DeAndre Baker, yeah, and there were red flags that came out after the fact. I can't blame him for what DeAndre Baker did after the fact, but regardless, even before that, he was not performing well, and he had issues, obviously, with falling asleep in meetings, not learning the playbook, blah, 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 blah. So that's definitely up there as one of his worst moves. You can look at the Jonathan Stewart signing. That wasn't a very good move. The trading for Alec Ogletree, that was not a good move. You could argue not trading down in the 2018 draft. There's several other moves that you could point to, but I wouldn't put Nate Solder as one of my top 3 because I think it was an understandable move. And the Leonard Williams, I think, actually worked out for us, as crazy as that may sound, even though I was not in favor of the trade when we made it. Anthony, man, thank you very much. Chris, salute. Team as it stands, come next season in the draft, do we draft need or BPA? I mean, that's hard to say for me. I got to see what the team looks like. But, and I got to see where we're picking. I think it's going to be a little bit of both, though. I think we're going to have a need on the offensive line. So if there's an offensive line that is close to warranting that pick, I think we're going to take him with one of those 2 first-round picks. I never, for everybody always says you always draft best player available. I don't agree with that. I think you find a way to try to match both early on in a draft. I think the philosophy of best player available holds more water, as weird as this may sound, as the draft goes along later. When you're in the third, fourth, fifth round, I think there you're thinking about the future. You're not so much thinking about this year's team. And that's where I start to go for almost exclusively BPA rather than need. In the first round, I think you try to match both if you can. But offensive line, edge rusher, and hopefully not, but potentially a quarterback could be some of our needs in next year's draft. But right now, I would say offensive line and edge rusher will be our two biggest needs going into next year's draft. Let's see what we got. And Edge, man, thank you very much. How does Godwin take a player at number 4 in the draft that was known to be the worst pass blocker of the Big Four last year? I feel like our GM is blind. I mean, it's hindsight, and I'm going to give him the year. Right now, it looks like a very bad pick. If you're being fair, though, 2 months leading up into the draft, almost everybody had him either as the best tackle, the second best tackle, or they said that you were drawing straws. Many people felt like he was the second best overall player in the draft in like March. So, and then he had a combine that really wasn't even that bad. It's just that Tristan Wirfs had this ridiculous 40 time, and he kind of dropped down a little bit because of it. But I don't think anybody thought it was an insane pick when the New York Giants made it. The New York Giants and Joe Judge, I want to say, because I do think it was collaborative, came to the agreement that that was the offensive lineman that they probably felt best fit what they were trying to do with the New York Giants. It could very well look like a horrible pick. Hopefully that's not the case this year. Obviously, based off last year, yeah, Tristan Wirfs looks much better. But we'll see. There's still a long way to go before I think we could really, truly judge that pick. I'm not, and this is what I've said all along, and I've been consistent with this. If Andrew Thomas turns out to be a good left tackle, an above average to near great left tackle, a guy that's going to be on the left side for 10 years, I don't give a damn if Tristan Wirfs is the greatest left tackle in the league. If he turns out to be a top 7-8 left tackle, I'm still happy with the pick. It's something that we needed. So I personally, and yes, you could always go back and say worse, but there's so many variables when it comes to offensive linemen. As long as Andrew Thomas is good, that's all I care about. That's it, man. It's so important to have a good player on the blind side on your football team. And as long as he could provide that, I'll be happy with the pick. I'm not going to come down on him yet. I'm not going to say it was an atrocious pick yet. He showed improvement last year. He had one bad preseason game. He had one atrocious preseason game. That doesn't mean he can't improve. Adam, man, thank you very much. I'm sure you answered this already, but thoughts on Beal. Yeah, we're going to go over the whole roster right now. But in terms of my thoughts on Beal, I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest with you. But I think, like people said earlier, once Aaron Robinson comes off the PUP, he'll probably be knocked down to the practice squad. I'm a little bit surprised, but by the same token, if I'm being fair, I thought he was playing pretty good in training camp. I even said in my last video that he was kind of on the bubble between him and Josh Jackson. The Giants ended up taking both. So I guess I'm a little bit surprised, but I'm not shocked. Coleman, thank you very much. Hey, Chris, could you put the roster up, please? Stand up. Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Sorry, guys. Let me put the roster up right now, and then we're going to get into some of the notes about the trade that we made as well. So here's the roster. And let me just read this real quick from Dharma. What's up, baby? Going to the week 2 game. Which jersey should I rock? Justin Tuck, alternate red, or Tiki Barber 06 Pro? You got to go with the JT. You got to go with the JT, man. JT, Dharma. Definitely JT, Dharma. But let me get rid of this real quick. And then we're going to go over the official roster for the New York Giants. They got down to the 53 today. And if you look at it, the quarterbacks are Mike Glennon and Daniel Jones. Obviously, Daniel Jones is above them. I don't know how they organized this, but those are the 2 quarterbacks. Running back, they went with 5 to start. And again, there could be some provisions here. They went with Saquon Barkley, Devontae Booker, Gary Brightwell, who I thought all along was going to make this team. They drafted him in the 6th round. You had to expect that he stood a very good chance to make this football team. So he got the call. Cohen Glassbia and Eli Penny. I guess the surprise cut for some people there, Corey Clement. A lot of people were rooting for Corey Clement. Looked good in the initial preseason game. The 3rd preseason game, they didn't play him with the starters, and that's when I started to say to myself, he very well may not make this football team. Of course, had the crucial fumble inside the 10-yard line in that first preseason game, even though he looked like he was running the football effectively, ended up being a cut there at that position. Offensive line right now, there's 8. I think ultimately there's going to be 9. And it's alphabetical. So there you go. I probably should have figured that out. That's a mistake on my part. It's alphabetical. And Gilbert Lopez, man, thank you very much. I'll be rocking the Color Rush Saquon. That's all. I got to get a Color Rush. I have a Saquon. I got to get a Color Rush Saquon. That's awesome, Gilbert, man. Thanks for popping in the stream, man. The offensive line right now, they have 8. I think ultimately it's going to be 9. I still expect the New York Giants to potentially go out there and bring in another offensive lineman to provide us more depth for this line. We'll have to wait and see. But right now they have 8. The newly acquired Ben Bredeson, Nick Gates, Will Hernandez, Shane Lemieux, Matt Baird, Billy Price, who of course they just traded for yesterday, Nate Solder, the veteran tackle, and Andrew Thomas. So they got rid of basically all of their depth, including Jonathan Harrison. They brought in the 2 newly acquired linemen, and the only backup that still remains on the roster is Nate Solder. So there's your offensive line. I think there's still room for one more addition. We'll see what they ultimately decide to do there. Wide receiver. Last year, the New York Giants went with 5 wide receivers on their opening day roster. And again, there could be changes. We're going to have to wait and see. Right now, as of today, there are 7 New York Giants on the opening day roster at the wide receiver position. David Sills, of course, the notable guy that was left off. You've got C.J. Board. C.J. Board, we all knew if he was going to make this team, it was going to be because of special teams. That's what he brings to the table for this New York Giants football team. That's why he's on the roster. Kenny Golladay, obviously going to be the number 1 option. Dante Pettis, Giants acquired him last year midseason. I thought did a pretty good job. He's a former 2nd or 3rd round pick of the 49ers. I think he's a good guy off the bench in case you have some injuries who could step in and give you some productive play. John Ross, he's been banged up all the training camp. We all know why he made this team. His speed. Maybe he could help in special teams as well if they use him as a kick returner, but that's why he made this team. The upside, you hope he could stay healthy. There you go with John Ross. Then you got Sterling Shepard. Nothing needs to be said there. I think our most well-rounded wide receiver, arguably. He's looked really good in the preseason games. Darius Slayton, who's been dropping a ton of balls, but I would assume, will be in the starting lineup along with Kadarius Toney. The tight ends, as of now, there are 3. We don't know if Evan Ingram is going to stay healthy, but you got Ingram, you got Rudolph, you got Caden Smith. No surprises there. Hikatini got cut about 2 weeks ago. We've had a couple injuries at the position. So no surprises there in terms of who made it and who didn't. Let me just read a couple of these before I lose them. Adamant, thank you very much. A lot of New York Giants fans are mad about the Sills, but remember, he's been on the practice squad for a reason. Yeah, I think we were all rooting for Sills, Adam, but we have a very talented wide receiver group. It's why I thought it was going to be tough sledding for him to make this team initially. I mean, you're talking about a team that added John Ross, Kadarius Toney, and Kenny Golladay. That's 3 additions to last year's wide receiver core. We lost Golden Tate, so really 2, and he didn't make the team last year. So I knew it was going to be tough for Pettis to make this team. Not Pettis, rather, Sills to make this team. Stinky Fingers, man, thank you very much. He says, daily reminder, that O-line doesn't affect wins and losses nearly as much as Giants fans think. Giants haven't been won and lost in the trenches since the mid-2000s. I actually disagree with that. I do think the trenches definitely affect the football team a lot, but obviously the quarterback is the most important position. But, I mean, I don't think it's coincidental, Sticky Fingers, that over the last 10 years, our offensive line belongs in a trash can, and we've had 1 winning season during it. We've had good weapons during that stretch. We've had good individual defensive players during that stretch. We've consistently had an abysmal offensive line. And over that 10-year stretch, we've had 1 winning season. By no means am I saying it's the be-all, end-all, and that's all you need to have a winning football team, but it's certainly very important. Adam, man, thank you very much, man. What's the chance we grab Shorts or DeCastro? I'm leaning not very high. Both are older. It's possible that they were holding out because they didn't want to have to go through a training camp. They've had injuries. Maybe, but I'm leaning not very high at him if I'm being honest with you. John, he says, Chris, do you see us signing Matt Skura, the center? No, I don't. We've already brought in 2 interior offensive linemen via trade. I know people were talking about him yesterday. I don't see the New York Giants going out there and trying to add another interior offensive lineman. If they're going to add a lineman, I think it'll be somebody that's at least capable of playing on the outside. Released by Miami, playing with Bredeson. Next to him was ranked 4th last season in pass protection, only 20. I mean, John, I'm not going to say it's impossible if they feel like he's an upgrade to somebody on the roster right now. But I think if they're going to be looking for a lineman right now, it's going to be somebody on the outside. And Adam, he says, every single offseason every single offensive weapon we have is injury prone. It's true. All you got to do is look at the weapons right now. They're all hurt. Saquon, Barkley, Kenny Golladay, Kyle Rudolph, now Evan Ingram. They've all been banged up. Shepard's had injury problems in the past. So you're not lying there. Cruzon, he says, what's up with all the Sills love? You would think this guy is the white Jerry Rice. Cruzon, I think he's a fan favorite. You know the Giants fans get. They always pick 1 or 2 players that they absolutely fall in love with, that they think is kind of on the back end of the roster. He's a guy that's been working hard to make this team for a number of years, and I think Giants fans got behind him, and they were hoping that he made the team. Unfortunately, he didn't. I was rooting for him because basically every Giants fan was, but it's no sweat off my back. I think Dante Pettis is a very good player, and I'm glad that he's a part of the New York Giants roster. Now, Let's get into the defense. Defensive line, Austin Johnson. Of course, the New York Giants gave him a big raise. He's due to make, I think, just over $3 million this year. So he made the team. Going to get to that in 1 second, Daniel. Austin Johnson made the team. Raymond Johnson, that was the big name. After the New York Giants traded B.J. Hill, it opened up a roster spot on the defensive line, and Raymond Johnson stepped in and took it. Raymond Johnson is an undrafted free agent rookie. When you look at his tape, he definitely has a lot of potential. So I see what the New York Giants saw in him. I was very happy when the Giants brought him in. Never thought he was going to make this team. He impressed in training camp, and Joe Judge and the New York Giants rewarded him and gave him a roster spot on the final 53. So that's great to see hard work get rewarded there with Raymond Johnson making the team, basically filling in for what B.J. Hill would have been. Dexter Lawrence. I mean, do I need to say anything there? I know all you guys are super excited about Sexy Dexy. He's on the final roster. Danny Shelton's going to be the big fella in the middle. Leonard Williams, arguably our best player on our defense, rounds out the defensive line. Defensive back, Sam Beal, the gift that keeps on giving, as I said on Twitter, did make the final 53. We'll see if he sticks. Giants still going to make some more moves. I would definitely think he's kind of on the bubble about whether or not he's going to stick on this roster. James Bradbury goes without saying, best cornerback on the team. Keon Crossan, the guy we traded a 6th-round pick to bring in, known to be very good in specials. Darnay Holmes, expect him to start in the slot out of UCLA in his 2nd year. Adoree Jackson, of course, the free agent acquisition. He's been a little bit banged up, but word is he should be ready for week 1. He'll be starting opposite James Bradbury. Josh Jackson. A lot of people were saying that he may not make the team. We traded Isaac Yiadom for Josh Jackson. He ended up making it, but he's been banged up this entire training camp. We'll see what happens there, what his role will be on this team this year. Julian Love, guy I'm really excited about this year, nicknamed Duct Tape. He could play every spot on the field. He could play the slot. He could play the safety. He could play the corner. I think he's a very valuable player off the bench. Xavier McKinney, 2nd-year pro this year out of Alabama. Didn't get to play much last year due to injuries. He's going to be 3rd in line at the safety spot, but expect to see the New York Giants run a lot of 3 safety sets. I think McKinney will be involved this year. Jabril Peppers, you're talking about a versatile piece here, one of the most important pieces of our defense in a contract year. Expect him to go out there and produce this year if he can stay on the field. Logan Ryan, I think he's going to get the captain badge this year, arguably the biggest leader on this football team. And Rodgers Williams, the 6th-round cornerback the New York Giants drafted, who looked much better in that 3rd preseason game. Linebackers, Cam Brown, special team specialist. Lorenzo Carter, fresh off the Achilles injury, looked pretty good in that 3rd preseason game. Hopefully this year, Zoe Carter could finally reach his potential. It seems like every single year we're talking about whether or not Lorenzo Carter is going to be that breakout player. Hopefully this year he can stay healthy and he can finally reach his potential. Carter Kaufman, super excited to see Kaufman this year. He's going to kind of be that 3rd middle linebacker. He's versatile. You can play him off the edge. You could use him in A-gap blitzes. He's looked good, but it's been against 13 second-team offenses. We'll see how big of a role he actually has with this team, but glad to see he's on the roster. Tate Crowder, I expect to be starting next to Blake Martinez in the 3-4 alignment when we have 2 middle linebackers out there. Mr. Relevant last year, did a damn good job for the Giants last year. Another guy that got rewarded for hard work. I think there were 2 guys that made this team, and a cut from this area was Ifedi Adenabo, a guy that I thought was going to do a good job for the New York Giants this year. Didn't do well in training camp, didn't really fit what the New York Giants were looking to do. He didn't make the team, but another guy that made it due to a lot of the hard work in camp was rewarded by Joe Judge. Wasn't on anybody's radar when training camp started. Trent Harris. Trent Harris had a very strong training camp. He was rewarded today, and the New York Giants gave him one of the back-end spots on this roster to fill out the final 53. So I'm looking at Raymond Johnson. I'm looking at Trent Harris. I think those 2 guys and Sam Beal are probably 3 out of the top 4 or 5 last guys to make this defense, but I'm really glad to see that he was rewarded and made this team. Blake Martinez, of course, arguably our most important player in our defense, the captain of the defense, a captain, but the man in the middle, the guy with the mic. Azeez Ojulari, the rookie, we're all super excited about him coming out of Georgia. Reggie Ragland, really good run-stopping specialist at the middle linebacker position. He's going to be one of the depth pieces there as well. Ellerson Smith, right now he's hurt. I expect him to be put on the IR probably tomorrow or within the coming days. And with that spot, I would only assume that Casey Crowder will be brought back on the roster. O'Shane Jimenez, coming off the injury, did make this team look pretty good in preseason. And then finally, Riley Dixon and Graham Gano. So there's your roster, and we're going to get more into the trade as well. I want to show some of you guys some things with that. But first, we're going to talk to the chat for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to get into the trade and talk about the prospect that we just brought in. But thank you once again, everybody, for being here. Appreciate all the support. Always I love doing live streams. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your night as we're getting ready for New York Giants football this year. Daniel, man, thank you very much. Sup, Dana, big fan all the way from Brazil. If all else fails, but Bobby's there at left tackle and we're good. Man's a monster. Yeah, I got to meet Bobby at Giant Stadium when we went to FanFest. And that guy, his height and weight doesn't do him justice. That guy, I thought I was watching a movie. I thought I saw like Godzilla in person. That guy's gigantic. But yeah, I think he definitely could be a big part of the New York Giants offensive line this year. I was saying they need to give him a call. Pete, man, thank you very much. Glad for the O-line additions. Casario said every Texan is available. We should inquire about Tunsil. I don't know what the price would be for Tunsil, and he makes a lot of money. I don't know his salary off the top of my head, but Laramie Tunsil makes a lot of money. That would be hard to maneuver a trade like that. But yeah, I mean, he's a very good tackle if he was available. But we'll see. Russell Okung, somebody's saying there's another offensive lineman. Did I forget Penny? I think I said Penny Saraceno. He made the roster if I didn't say him. Sam Beal staying on the roster makes me suicidal. But I like all the other moves. What's up, Jake? Yeah, we can't afford Tunsil. He makes a lot of money, and he makes a ton of money. My boy Sam Beal. Stewart is one of, I know Kenny in my Discord is a Sam Beal fan also. You guys should start a fan club, and maybe you'll be able to find 2 or 3 other people in the world that are part of the Sam Beal fan club. Most Giant fans are not that fond of Sam Beal. Somebody asked me actually earlier, what was Dave Gettleman's 3 worst moves? That was probably one of them. Spending a supplemental pick on Sam Beal. Probably not the best of decisions by Dave Gettleman after we've seen the result from Sam Beal. Used the 3rd round pick on that. Rogue says, I'm also a Sam Beal fan. All right, we got a couple of Sam Beal fans in here. What's up, Tigo, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Cowboys fan really wanted Cam Newton. I mean, maybe. I mean, obviously you got Dak there as the starter, but he is a little bit injury prone. Let's see. Sam Beal has not worked out. Yeah, he's definitely been disappointed. That's probably one of our 3 worst moves. Now that I have a little bit of time to think about it, that's probably one of our three worst moves. Do you think we'll go for Watson? No, we're not getting Deshaun Watson. Logical landing spot for Cam. Now, that's a good question because the New York Giants are not a logical landing spot for Cam Newton. But when I heard the trade, the first team that I thought of was the Washington football team. Obvious connection. If he went to Washington, I'm not saying I'm rooting for this, but I do think it's one of the places that make the most sense. If he went to Washington, he'd at least have an opportunity to potentially win the starting spot. If not by the opening day, at some point. Ryan Fitzpatrick, a journeyman, you would think Cam Newton could definitely beat him out at some point. And there's no rookie there that you have to worry about him potentially stunting the growth. It would also look like an attractive destination for Newton. They've got weapons. They've got the defense in place, obviously with a connection to Ron Rivera. So I think Washington may be the most logical landing spot for Cam Newton, if you ask me right now. And I think he'd have a legitimate shot to win the starting job there, if not by week 1, maybe by a quarter of the way through the season when inevitably Ryan Fitzpatrick becomes Ryan Fitztragic. But yeah, that's my take on that. I think that is the most logical landing spot for Cam Newton. Nader, man, thank you very much. What happened to that? Well, he's going to be on the practice squad. He's going to be on the practice squad. He didn't make the team. I knew he was never going to make the team. I know everybody was rooting for him. I was rooting for him. But realistically speaking, going in, you're talking about Sandro Platzkummer. He was never going to make the team. We were too deep there. If anybody was going to that didn't at the position, it was going to be Corey Clement. He was next in line after that. So Platzkummer will start on the practice squad. Maybe if we have a couple of injuries, he'll get an opportunity, but still growing as a football player. Maybe one day he will finally make the New York Giants roster. But obviously he had that really nice 50-yard run in preseason. But I got to assume he will be put on the practice squad. And yeah, Gandy Golden got cut by Washington, Big Daddy. I saw that earlier. Yep. A wide receiver out of Liberty that a lot of New York Giants fans were interested in the 2020 draft. I think Washington got him in the 3rd or 4th round. He's like 6'5". Washington did cut him today, which a little bit of a surprise move. I don't follow Washington close enough to know their wide receiving core. I know that obviously they had a Curtis Samuel this year, but yeah, that a little bit of a surprise for me that he did get cut. Eric, man, thank you very much. Your thoughts on Cam Newton getting cut by the Patriots? To me, it was a shocker. I didn't expect it. The only thing that makes sense to me with the Cam Newton thing, because he's clearly good enough to be their backup, I think what happened was, and this is just me speculating and guessing, is New England said, Cam, we're going to go with Mac Jones. Mac Jones is going to be the opening day starter, and we're going to give you the option to either A, be the backup for the year, hold the clipboard, be a mentor, be a guy that's going to go in if Mac Jones gets hurt, or we're going to give you the opportunity for us to release you and you to go on to another team where maybe you have a better opportunity to become a starter. That's my line of thinking. They probably looked at Newton. They wanted to see the competition between Newton and Mac Jones in training camp. They were probably very impressed with what Mac Jones, they know he's the future, and they probably thought he had an even better training camp than they expected. And they said, Newton, we appreciate you, but we want to give you an opportunity to play somewhere else. That's my line of thinking. That's what I think probably happened. Pete, Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate it. One of the best left tackles in football, makes a lot of money. Who do you thunk it? Who to thunk it? Was it this year about giving DJ the best chance possible? Thomas saying it. I agree, but there's a salary cap, and right now the New York Giants have no room in the salary cap whatsoever. So you would need to include players in that trade to bring him in, which could harm other parts of this roster, and it would have to be players that made a lot of money. Right now, we only have about $1 million in salary cap space. I don't know Tunsil's salary. I'll assume it's $18 million. I don't know what it is. Let's say it's $15 million. You would have to trade players to offset that money to give us enough cap space. So that's the reasoning. If money wasn't involved, I'd be all for trading Laremy Tunsil if it was for the right price. I just don't know if it's possible based on the money that he makes and the amount of salary cap flexibility that we have. Adam, thank you very much. Blake Martinez got Cam cut. Yes, he did. Well, to be honest with you, and obviously he caught the interception. That's what you're talking about, which actually was a good throw. Martinez actually just made a really good play on it. Yeah, I think it was actually a really good throw. It's just that Blake Martinez made a ridiculous play. The Giants, I was telling Bobby on Twitter today, Brett Favre's last interception as a Packer, New York Giants are responsible for. Logan Ryan's responsible for Tom Brady's last interception as a Patriot while he was with the Tennessee Titans. But yeah, I think he was going to get cut anyway because I don't even really put that play on him. But yeah, it's a funny way to look at it. John, man, thank you very much. He says, did you see the D-line our tackles are facing week 1, Von Chubb week 2? Yeah, it's tough. The first 2 weeks in particular is really tough. Then it eases up a little bit. But yeah, the first 2 weeks are really tough. You're talking about the best defensive line in football. With the Washington football team week 2 and week 1, you're going up against a really good duo. So Andrew Thomas, and that's why I keep saying it. If we're being honest with ourselves in the chat right now, I know a lot of people want to see Daniel Jones rifling the football with all the weapons we've gotten. Can you see this offensive line our tackles being able to hold up against those edge rushers for 35 to 40 pass attempts and winning a football game? I just don't see it. Not yet anyway. Maybe they mature and grow as the year goes along. That's why I keep saying we got to try to establish a run in that football game against both Denver and Washington. We know that the Giants are pretty good in terms of the run blocking on the offensive line. So we'll see ultimately what happens. But I think they got to come out with a strong run attack. But let's jump a little bit into Ben Bredeson. What's going on, Nicholas? Let me get rid of this guy. Block that bum. But let me get into Ben Bredeson. Talk a little bit about him. I know I probably keep mispronouncing the name. Let me just get rid of this real quick. So I want to talk a little bit about him, pull up some of the things that I saw. This coming out from Ralph Vacchiano. Ralph Vacchiano, of course, works for SNY. The Giants aren't getting proven commodities with their trades for Billy Price and Ben Bredeson, but the upside of these two players are far better than what they had. They still lack veteran depth, but their depth is better now. And I'm in complete agreement with that. Yeah, it's definitely not proven. You're talking about a guy that we just picked up today that had 50 snaps last year. Price only has 19 starts in the NFL, but they're young and they're guys with upside, and hopefully the New York Giants coaching could get something out of them. Both were thought to be very good offensive lineman prospects in their draft. This also coming out from Ralph. Ben Bredeson is 6'5", 315 pounds, and was a 4th-round pick last year in Baltimore. He played pretty well during the preseason, I'm told, but was an odd man out on a pretty stacked Ravens offensive line. Of course, like I said, they signed Kevin Zeitler. They had a very good offensive line to begin with, so that's what made him expendable. And the Ravens probably said to themselves, he's way too good to just cut. We have to try to get something. We're too deep on the offensive line. And when they knew that the Giants were desperate for an offensive lineman, they took what they could get, which is why I think the New York Giants got him for a discount. This then coming out from Zach Rosenblatt. The Giants traded with the Ravens for Ben Bredeson, a young offensive lineman that didn't allow any pressures in limited snaps as a backup last year. Then Pelissero, this is the details of the trade. The Giants are trading a 2022 4th-round pick to the Ravens, which you figure is going to be in the 115 to 120 range, for guard Ben Bredeson, who was probably, I don't know, the 120, maybe the 140th pick the previous year, a 2022 5th-round pick, and a 2023 7th-round pick per source. So I think that's a pretty good trade for the New York Giants. You didn't give up a whole hell of a lot. But let's learn a little bit more about Ben. This was his prospect grade coming out of high school. Of course, he hasn't played a snap in the NFL yet. Played at Michigan, where he was a very good offensive lineman for the Michigan Wolverines. But this was his rankings coming out of high school. He was a very highly regarded prospect, 4-star recruit, was the number 5 offensive tackle, which was the position he played in high school at the time in the country. He was 39th nationally. He was number 1 in the state. This is Bredeson. This was his NFL.com profile. 315, 31 and 1/8 arms, which is kind of small for a tackle, which is where he played in college. Probably a big reason why he transferred to the guard. But there's a picture of him. Then the scouting report. This from NFL Draft Network. Pros doesn't have long arms, but he's slapped together nicely with a frame engineered for guard play in the NFL. Nasty dude in the run game. Love how he finds leverage points on the opponent and turns them out of gaps to create a push. He can move bodies against their will in the run game. A true technician that is deliberate with getting his hands fit, leveraging his hips, and competing to stay square. 4-year starter, and it shows. His awareness and desire to find work is outstanding. Executes with great bend and body control. Frameworks in unison with consistency. Won't find him overextended with bad weight distribution. His cons: left wanting more quickness, foot speed, and athletic ability. Doesn't offer too much in way of range or consistency on the move. Questionable ability to redirect, pivot, and respond when defenders get to his edges. Has to stay polished with his handwork because he lacks length. Punch placement can be erratic. So those are some of the pros, some of the cons. This is the overview. You guys probably can't see it that well, but I'll read it. I got to kind of zoom in a little bit, kind of squint a little bit. But I kind of wanted to show this because I do think he fits the offensive game plan for our offensive line coach. I think we're going to be a run-heavy team. I keep saying that, and that's kind of what this says. 4-year starter who will get dinged up for some athletic limitations, but possession of the body type, leadership, and toughness necessary to play in the league. Bredeson is best suited firing out in the power-based rushing attack, whereas disadvantages in space can be mitigated. So I'm not going to read the rest of it, but I just wanted to really hit home with that point because you look at the type of offensive line coach that we brought in, that's the type of offensive lineman that I think he would want. Some of his strengths: burly with broad shoulders and an NFL guard frame, peppery pass, punch to stun defenders, sharp to the snap, and catch and response to twits. Looks for work when he's uncovered, and you guys heard the rest. I just wanted to show you guys a couple things on Bredeson, and there you go. Get to know him a little bit more. But regardless, I'm happy that we brought this guy in. He seems like a guy that has a lot of upside, a former 4th-round pick, and we desperately needed some help in terms of the back end of our offensive line. So I think it's a really good move by the New York Giants. Didn't give up much to get him. So I'm excited that we brought him in, and hopefully he could become what some people feel like his upside could be, which is hopefully a starting guard in the NFL. Edsman, thank you very much. He says, sounds like this guy might be better than Lemieux. Well, he was regarded as a better prospect than Lemieux. They were both in the same draft class. He went in the 4th, Lemieux went in the 5th. And most people had him ranked above Lemieux in the draft. So he very well could end up starting for the New York Giants, if not at the beginning of the year, definitely at some point this year if Lemieux's struggling. So I think it was a good pickup for the Giants, and there's no reason to think that he should be below Lemieux at this point in time. The only thing he's guilty of is being on an offensive line that had so much talent that he couldn't get on the field. So I like the pickup. I think it's a good move. And Gallman got cut. Wow. And I was surprised, Jake, that Gallman got as small of a contract as he did this offseason. I think we all agreed we thought he'd get a little bit more. Now, the 49ers are stacked at the running back position, so I'm not too shocked there. They got Trey Sermon. They got a number of running backs there. So I'm not shocked that he got cut, but a little bit surprising there. Maybe a reunion with the New York Giants. I know a lot of people are going to be thinking about that in the chat right now. What do you think? I don't know. I'm just saying. Ian, thank you very much. I think DJ will play great this year with all the weapons coming, and especially if he uses his athleticism more. Could help with bad O-line play. Yeah, I mean, I'm the preseason game, we didn't even get an opportunity to really see his athletic ability. We didn't get to see the weapons either. I want to see a lot more RPOs this year with Daniel Jones. Between him and Barkley, I think it could be deadly. But obviously, this offensive line's got to get the job done. Bring back the Wayne train, Nick said, for the min short. That's what he would be. He's not going to cost anything. He just got cut. And he says Gallman's better than Booker. I don't think it'd be a bad idea. I don't know if they're going to do it. They probably won't. They let him walk, but I don't think it'd be the worst idea in the world. I'm just saying. I don't think they'll do it, but I'm just saying. Obviously, they got a lot of faith in Brightwell. They drafted him this year, so they probably won't do it, but something interesting. And maybe if he doesn't get picked up, if we have an injury at the running back position, maybe then he gets an opportunity to come back with the Giants. The Wayne train, yeah, he did a good job this year. Willem says, bottom dollar, I'll take him. Bill says, let's go get Gallman. Booker is a more complete back, though. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Booker's a solid back. I think he's going to do a good job for the Giants this year. What happened with Aaron Robinson? He's been hurt all preseason. He's had a core injury. I don't know exactly what it is, but that's what they've labeled it, a core muscle injury. He's been hurt all preseason. He's on the pup, and he's not going to start the year with the Giants. He's on the roster, but he's not going to start the year. Simon, he says, how about that Mets, baby? Let's go. Wish I was watching. The Mets have been playing better as of late. It's been embarrassing, though, with what came out with Javi Baez, but they've been playing better as of late. They're still like 7 games out or maybe 6 games out. I know they were 7 games out when the day started, and I think they won today, so maybe they're 6.5 or 7 out or 6 out, depending on what happens today. If they get closer, like 3 games out, I'll start to get excited, but the games are starting to dwindle. I think we're down to about 30 games, and hopefully the Mets can start to get it going. John, man, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, Gallman got cut from the 49ers. John says Judge needs to let one unit play together and let them find continuity. Keep swapping out Parrott and etc. After one bad play isn't helping these guys either. I agree. I mean, within game, you definitely can't do it. Preseason, I get it, whatever. You want to give all these guys exposure to one another in case they do have to play. But going into the season this year, last year, as I've said several times, John, I think it was more understandable because you had young offensive linemen. You wanted to give them an opportunity to work with one another, knowing that they were going to be the future of this team, but you still wanted to make sure you weren't getting completely destroyed. So you still wanted to leave Cam Fleming in there here and there to not get your quarterback completely killed. But this year, you got to let these guys grow. If you believe in them as the starting unit, you got to put them out there. You can't keep switching these guys in and out. I'm in complete agreement with you on that, especially from within the game. I used to watch baseball as a kid. I can't watch the innings now without being bored. Cruise on, it's a slow game. It's not for everybody. If I didn't play baseball growing up as a kid, which I did, and I was really good at it, it was probably my best sport in terms of playing, I probably wouldn't be that big of a baseball fan, to be honest with you. I definitely see why people are it's definitely a slow-moving game. Sticky Fingers, man, thank you very much. He says, I'm not panicking. I'm fine with our line. I'm fine with Garrett. If DJ is good, we will be good. If DJ is bad, we will be bad. And I believe DJ will be good. If DJ is good, we'll be fine. We'll be a good team this year. If DJ is good this year, I think there's factors that will determine whether or not he's good. And a lot of it is health on the offense, and a lot of it's the offensive line. But if DJ is good this year, I agree with you. Giants are going to have a good team this year. There's no reason to think that they won't. If Daniel Jones is good this year, we've got a good defense. We don't play, in my opinion, I know Authentic disagrees, I don't think we play an insane schedule. I look at the Raiders as one of the worst teams in football. The Eagles are not a very good team. We play them twice. I think the Broncos are beatable. I think the Falcons suck. So I think we do have winnable games on our schedule, including some of our divisional games. But if Daniel Jones is good, yes, we're going to have a good team. There's no denying it. I just think there's more to it than just Daniel Jones. I think he needs the offensive line to block and not get destroyed, but he definitely has to get better in terms of getting the ball out quicker as well. After I got to watch back the tape on that one play where Andrew Thomas I don't think he got credit with the sack. I think Jones stepped up in the pocket and somebody else sacked him, but Thomas allowed the pressure off the left side. There was a guy right over the middle. I think it was Devontae Booker that he should have hit with a throw long before he got hit. He's got to get better in terms of, reading the field and getting the ball out quicker at times. 2 words, Wayne Gallman. Yeah, a lot of people want Wayne Gallman. Any updates on Reese and John? He's on the injured list right now. He's on the IR. I guess he's technically rostered, but he's on the IR. There's actually 9 players on the IR. Actually, I can read it to you. Hold on one second. I don't have it pulled up, but I have it on my computer. This is the IR right now. There's 9 players. It might even be more. It's Quincy Wilson is on the injured reserve. TJ Brunson, Hortage, Kalu, Reese and John, Cole Hicatini, Kyle Murphy, Ted Larson, and Levine Toyola. A couple of those players are out for the year, including Levine Toyola, but that's the IR right now for the New York Giants. And the PUP list right now is Aaron Robinson. So there you go. Talking Giants says Wayne Gallman stink. Bobby doesn't like Wayne Gallman. What's up, Bobby, man? Glad to see you, man. Do you think Gates goes back to tackle? No. Unless it's an emergency situation, no. Nate Solder is going to be the backup tackle. You don't want to play me. We just said it. I don't want to play musical chairs on the offensive line. Nick Gates has done a good job at the center. I don't want to move him from there. And Edge, man, thank you very much. The O-line is the key to this season, period. I agree. Because I think if the O-line is good, Daniel Jones will be just fine. I think Daniel Jones can win us football games if we can block for him with the weapons that we have in place and with the defense that we have. If the offense is even close to average, I think we'll at least be a 9-win team. So I agree. The X factor for this team, and I'm going to tell you what, Ed's the following year, it's going to be the same thing. And until they get this offensive line right, I'm going to say it every year, that's going to be the X factor until they finally get this offensive line situated. So I'm in complete agreement with you. Let's see what we got here. But we got to trade Ingram though. You can't trade him right now. The guy's banged up. So that's not going to happen. And Jay News, man, thank you very much. He says, do you think Garrett's offense is too vanilla or is it just preseason? Bobby's going to kill me for this answer. Bobby and Justin, absolutely. They're not part of the Jason Garrett fan club. We were just talking about the Sam Beal fan club. Here's what I'm going to continue to say. I think Jason Garrett, again, not the most innovative mind. He's not Shanahan. He's not whatever. If you give him the pieces, much like Daniel Jones the pieces, I think he can have a productive offense. I think the history has shown in the past that when given the proper pieces, he can have a productive offense. Do I think there needs to be some wrinkles to the play calling? 100%. It boils down to the offensive line for me, though. You're talking about a guy that had two quarterbacks with Dallas that nobody had high expectations for with Dak Prescott and Tony Romo. They ended up being very good quarterbacks. They had a very good offense while he was there calling the plays. So do I think he could be? Could we have a good offense? Yes, but he needs better circumstances to get the job done. I want to give him the pieces this year. I want to give him Saquon Barkley. I want to give him Kenny Golladay. I want to give him Tony, and then I want to evaluate. So yet to be determined, but do I think if the offensive line does their job that we could have a pretty good offense? Yes. I think the offensive line is the key. That's my honest opinion. Why keep two fullbacks? One's going to be used for he was brought in here to be special teams. That's why. Let's see what we got here. Gates is our center, period, stop. I agree. He's definitely our center. Definitely our center. The only way he wouldn't be our center is in an emergency situation. That's the only way he wouldn't be our center. Just got here. What did I miss? We traded for an offensive lineman and the final 53. I'll show it for you real quick for anybody popping in, but I already went over it. I'll just read it off real quick for anybody popping in right now. But here you go. Here's the 53. Mike Glenn and Daniel Jones. Bredeson, who's the offensive lineman we just traded for. He's the fourth-round offensive lineman out of Michigan. Nick Gates, Will Hernandez, Shane Lemieux, Matt Baer, Billy Price, the offensive lineman we traded for yesterday. Nate Solder, Andrew Thomas, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Booker, Gary Brightwell, the rookie. We went with two fullbacks as of now. This could change. Gillespie and Penny, CJ Board, Kenny Golladay, Dante Pettis, John Ross, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Kadarius Toney. Obviously going with 7 wide receivers there. Tight ends, we went with Ingram. We went with Rudolph. We went with Caden Smith, self-explanatory. Austin Johnson, Raymond Johnson, the undrafted defensive lineman, made the team. Had a really good training camp. Dexter Lawrence, Danny Shelton, Leonard Williams. Sam Beal made the team. James Bradbury, Keon Cross, Darnay Holmes, Adoree Jackson, Josh Jackson, Julian Love, Xavier McKinney, Jabril Peppers, Logan Ryan, Rodarius Williams. Cam Brown, Lorenzo Carter, Carter Kaufman, Tate Crowder, Trent Harris, Blake Martinez, Azeez Ojulari, Reggie Ragland, Ellerson Smith, who will probably start on the IR, O'Shane Jimenez, and then the special teams right now doesn't have the long snapper, but I think he's going to take Ellerson Smith's spot. Riley Dixie, Graham Gano, and expect Casey Kreider on the team as well. So there's my quick roundup for the team that anybody that just popped in. Ron, man, thank you very much. Do you think that there will be more offensive line moves? Yes, I think we're going to still add one offensive lineman. I thought for a while that we were going to roster 9 offensive linemen, much like last year. Right now, we only have 8. We cut all of our depth. I still think there's some maybe tackles out there that the New York Giants could bring in to fill out this roster. I think we're going to add another tight end as well. Maybe they don't add a lineman. I think they're definitely adding a tight end because it's looking more and more likely that Evan Ingram won't be ready to go by week 1. Johnny says Garrett will be fine. He has some young minds with him this year. Russ Cal, which I really like that pickup, by the way. I saw that he ran some of LSU's offense during the preseason versus Jets versus Pats. Yeah, I don't think – the other thing is I don't think Garrett has full say. I think Judge has a lot of it. I think Judge had say of the offense last year, too. I know Garrett calls the plays, but I think Judge is involved as well. NY Giant 26 says Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith both look good for KC. It's preseason, but so far, yeah, they look good. And it's looking more and more like a mistake that the Giants passed on Trey Smith. By the time the 5th, 6th round goes around, I know he had injury problems, but you take a shot there, and I understand why Giants fans are upset that they didn't take him. Brandon, he says, I think what our offense is missing is easy rack players. Feels like we're always throwing super tight windows on short yardage plays. Tony may be big. I agree. I think that's a major reason why they brought Tony in. He's a guy that should be able to create quick separation with his speed and his maneuverability. He's a shifty receiver. I think that's a major reason why they brought him in. There's really no wide receivers on this team, Kenny Golladay included, that are known for separating. Sterling Shepard's pretty good at it. He's a good route runner in the slot. Golladay creates separation with his height, but he's not going to be a guy that creates quick separation off the line of scrimmage. I think that's what Tony could provide for this team, along with Saquon Barkley coming out of the backfield. But, I'm in complete agreement with you on that. That's exactly why Tony's here. The Giants don't get yacked because of the spacing, which is Garrett's fault, aka route concepts. That's definitely part of it, Andy. It's definitely part of it. Out of Ingram, Galladay, Saquon, Tony, and Lemieux, who do you think will play and won't week 1? What's up, Sean? Good to see you, buddy. I think Lemieux's going to play week 1. That's I'm leaning that way at least because he's back at practice today. I think Saquon's going to play week 1. Tony, they basically said, is going to play week 1. And I think Galladay's going to play week 1. And I also think Rudolph, who you don't have there, is more than likely going to play week 1. I do not think Evan Ingram is going to play week 1. At least that's the way it looks right now. Nader, man, thank you very much. About to take my son to practice. He's an authentic tackle. He might be good enough to play instead of Parrott. Just kidding. He might be. How old is he? If he's 17 or 18, I'll give the Giants a call. Matt Parrott's certainly been struggling. And Zeke, man, thank you very much. 2 fullbacks. Garrett's scheme will be the key. Got to be creative. Yeah, they got to be more innovative this year, and we'll see. Hopefully they are. Hopefully the offensive line gives them more time to try to take deeper shots down the field, but they got to also be more innovative with their play calling. I'm in complete agreement with you there. No doubt about it. And hopefully there's a plan, there's a method to the madness of the players that they've brought in. They brought in Galladay because I thought that he'd fit the scheme. As far as the fullbacks go, somebody said, why 2 fullbacks? Gillespie is here for special teams. That's the reason we brought him in from the beginning. And he still may not make the final 53. I want to continue to say that. He may not make the final 53. There's still going to be changes. He may be holding a roster spot until they add another tight end. They may make a shift. Who knows? But if he does make the team and he is on the roster week 1, that's the reason. He's known to be very good in special teams. That's why we brought him in to begin with. Big Daddy, man, thank you very much. I hate Ingram. Get rid of him. I think most Giant fans in the chat are going to agree with you. I think most Giant fans are going to agree with Big Daddy on that. He's constantly hurt, and if he's not, he's dropping passes. The good news for you, Big Daddy, regardless of how Evan Ingram plays this year, I don't think you're going to have to see him after this year in a New York Giants uniform. So that's the good news. I think you're stuck with him for 1 more year, but he won't be here much longer. Cruzon says, Chris, please answer Amazing Guy's question. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. He asked, why did we take Ross over Sills, or why did he make the team, period? Okay. I mean, the one thing about Ross, obviously, injuries. That period. And if he was going to miss the team, that was going to be why. He's been banged up all the training camp, hasn't been able to get on the field. But if you want my honest answer, the reason is Ross provides something that Sills can't. He provides speed. He provides something different. He brings something to the table. He can help in special teams, and you can't teach speed. That's why we brought in Ross to begin with. They thought that Ross was going to be ready by week 1. That's why John Ross made the team. I think David Sills very well may not get claimed, and if he doesn't, he'll be back on the practice squad. Had the New York Giants let Ross go, he almost certainly would have been claimed, and they wouldn't have been able to put him on the practice squad. So there's my answer there. I think he just offers something that David Sills quite simply cannot. And I know a lot of people love David Sills. I wanted David Sills to make the team, but that's the reason. That's the reason why he made this team, because of his speed, plain and simple. He's had injury problems throughout his entire career, and if Sills is on the practice squad, he more than likely will get an opportunity to play for this team because more than likely he's probably going to get hurt, and Sills will get called up to replace him. But that's the reason why Ross got rostered. I think he would have been claimed, and there's a better chance that Sills will not. And obviously, Ross could do stuff that David Sills cannot. John says NFL officially is back next Thursday. I'm going to be calling the game. I can't wait. I can't wait to call the game. I'm super looking forward to it. Obviously, Cowboys versus Tampa Bay. We're all going to be big Tom Brady fans for that game, but I can't wait, John. Yeah, Joe, that's the reason. I mean, that's just facts, man. That's why he's on this team, man. Ross is better. If you want me to be honest with you, Ross is better. Just that he has injury problems. Let's see. What's going on, Irishman? Thanks for popping in the stream, buddy. Judge said that they plan to bring Nate Ebner back. Yeah, they've been saying that all offseason, and we'll see. I obviously he's a Judge guy, could help in special teams. I don't know where you heard that. I don't know if that just came out. Maybe they will eventually roster him on this team. I really don't want him on this team, to be honest with you. I think we have enough special teams guys on this team currently, but we'll see. Sticky fingers, man. Thank you very much. Garrett's scheme has been successful for a decade, but it needs consistent ground attack and a high possession wide receiver. Kenny Galladay and Saquon will make it look good. I agree. I think that they needed – when Saquon went down last year, I think that had a huge effect on Jones and on the offensive play calling. I think they planned to run the offense through Saquon. And like you said, they didn't have Kenny Galladay. They didn't have a receiver like Kenny Galladay. You look back at the Dallas Cowboys of years past with the Garrett scheme, the air Coryell scheme, which is what he wants to run. He wants to throw deep shots down the sideline. That's what it is, and it's a lot of usage of the tight end over the middle. It's a lot of the run game. You think back to Ryans with the Cowboys when they used to run the ball a ton, but they always had the tall threats on the outside. With Des Bryant, they had Miles Austin, and those are the types of wide receivers that they want. I think that's why they brought in Kenny Golladay. Josh, man, thank you very much. Wayne Train got released. Yeah. We said it earlier. The 49ers released him, and we'll see. We'll see if the New York Giants put in a claim for him. I doubt it, because I don't think they're going to want to cut the running back that they drafted, Brightwell, who made the team. But is it possible? Anything's possible. I'd be open to it. I thought he did a good job for the Giants last year. I don't think he's a great running back, but I think he's at least a very good backup. I think he could get the job done if we could run block. Damn, I'm clueless, I guess, Garrett said. In regards to what, Garrett? Clueless about what, man? Adam said, do you think it would be worth it to trade a big-name defensive player and a solid O-lineman? For a solid O-lineman. Might be worth it, honestly. And like I said in the last stream, yes, in an ideal world, like if I could trade Jabril Peppers right now, a guy that very well may not be back with the team after this year anyway, we're pretty strong at the safety spot. You would still have Julian Love as your third safety. You'd have McKinney and Love. If I could trade Jabril Peppers for a good lineman, I would do it. The problem is, you tell me a team that's looking to trade good linemen. And it's why I always say I would always prioritize a good offensive lineman. Good offensive lineman you can't find outside of the draft unless you're overpaying dramatically in free agency or you're bringing in a guy that has an injury history. It's the good offensive linemen usually don't leave their teams. It's very hard to find offensive linemen. It's why I would always prioritize drafting them and trying to build your line that way. Can you find a guy here and there in free agency? Yes, but it's very hard to trade for them. Teams are not looking to give away good offensive linemen. No, we didn't do it. Not for a proven offensive lineman. We traded for a guy that was a backup that probably wouldn't have even made the roster for Baltimore because they were so deep on the line. I think he's more so talking about a guy that you know is going to step in and be a proven commodity on the offensive line. Guys like that, teams aren't looking to trade. Let's see. Ebner is signing immediately per Field Yates and Pat Leonard. Let me take a quick look. Pat Leonard. Let's see. Pat Leonard. Nate Ebner signing imminent, if healthy. Always the plan. Well, there you go. Nate Ebner is going to be part of this roster. Interesting. Let's see. Let's share the screen real quick. Chrome tab. There you go. Nate Ebner is going to be on the New York Giants roster. This coming out from Pat Leonard. Nate Ebner signing imminent, if healthy. Always the plan. Hashtag Giants. So there you go. He's going to make the team, Nate Ebner. And obviously they're going to, like I said, this final 53, they're going to make some alterations to it. And obviously Nate Ebner is going to be a part of this New York Giants roster. So there you go. Ebner's going to make this team for special teams purposes. And let's take a look at the Giants roster right now and I guess speculate as to who may be cut. Let me get rid of a couple of these. You got to think it's got to be somebody in the secondary because if you look at this New York Giants secondary right now, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm sorry, is it 11? Yeah, you got 11 members in the secondary right now. And obviously Ebner, even though he's going to be brought here to be special teams, he's a safety. So if you're going to put him on this roster, Kenny, if you're watching, Sam Beal, hasta la vista, baby. Because if you look right now at this secondary, James Bradbury, you're not cutting. Keon Crossen, you traded for. Darnay Holmes, you're not cutting. Adore Jackson, you're not cutting. Maybe Josh Jackson, but you traded for him. Julian Love, Xavier McKinney, Jabril Peppers. I don't see it. I think it's Sam Beal. If they're going to put him on this roster, I think it's Sam Beal. What's up there, Dust Thunderman? Thanks for popping in the stream, buddy. And a deal, man. Thank you very much, man. He says, would you trade Saquon Barkley for Quinton Nelson? Yes. It provided that Quinton Nelson is healthy, yes. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. He's one of the best guards in football. Yeah, I would. And I love Saquon Barkley, but I got to be honest. Yes. Yes, I would. But thank you, Adil, man. I appreciate it, man. Let's see. MY Giants 26, man. He says, and let me get rid of this real quick. I thought I should stop. Oh, that's why. Hold on one second. There you go. NY Giants 26 said, Bengals Michael Jordan was cut guard. Liked him during the draft. We should keep an look at him just for depth. Never know what these guys they can develop. Maybe on the practice squad. I don't know. I don't think they're going to add another interior offensive lineman, though, that's going to be part of the 53-man roster. If anything, I think it's going to be a tackle. Because if you look at our offensive line right now, we've got Bredeson, who's a guard or center. We got Gates, who's a starting center. Hernandez, who's a guard. Lemieux, who's a guard. Billy Price, who's a center. And we've got 3 exterior linemen. We got 5 guys on the inside. I would think we'd add a guy that could play tackle if we're going to add somebody right now to this 53-man roster. That's just my guess. But maybe on the I don't know, maybe on the practice squad. But thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. Daniel, he says, Ebner, Crossan, Cam Brown, CJ Board, Gano. We might have a Pro Bowl or 2 at special teams. With the amount, and Mr. Juke, I missed you, but I'm going to get back to your super chat. With the amount that we've spent in terms of roster spots on special teams players, we better have a couple of Pro Bowl special teamers with this team. Another guy, I guess, that's a sleeper, Daniel, that maybe could be a special teams Pro Bowler for the Giants this year. Whoever returns kicks, whether it's Ross or Tony, maybe they could be, obviously they could be explosive potentially in the kick return game. So there's another one as well. And Mr. J. Duke, man, thank you very much. What do you think about picking up Peyton Barber? Was he cut? He's a hard runner. He's always been a guy that doesn't get many yards per carry. He's more like a goal line runner. Was he cut? Peyton Barber, Antonio Gandy, yes, he was cut. How old is he now? Let me see. I don't think we're going to do it, but he is 27. He's still relatively young. He's a short yardage back. That's what he is. That's what he brings to the table. He's got a career 3.5 yards per carry average. I would say no. I would say no. I think we're going to go with the guys that we got. I think we're going to go with Brightwell, and obviously I think we're going to go with Booker. We gave a good amount of money. So I would say no. I see where your head's at with that because we don't really have that downhill runner, but I would say no. And Brandon, man, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Given our current and I'm going to make sure. Oh, yeah, okay. Given our current O-line situation and the necessity of it, don't see why we could find a good player using a second or third next year. We are loaded with picks. Listen, if they're out there, sure. But I'm going to continue to say it. There's not a lot of teams that are going to look to trade one of their starting offensive linemen on their football team right now. But if they're willing to, sure. I just don't see teams rushing to do that. Teams don't want to weaken their offensive line before the year starts. Now, is it possible? Maybe on a bad team like Houston, who's looking to sell, maybe you could pick off an offensive lineman. That's possible. But it's not easy. It's not going to be easy to find a good offensive lineman before the year starts. In the offseason, that's probably more feasible. And MI Giants 26, man, I wish we had the Patriots' ability to develop linemen. Well, they've had one of the best offensive line coaches for years. I think he is the best offensive line coach, so that definitely helps. And obviously, Tom Brady helped the offensive line for years as well. So I would love that. Gettleman won't be picking next year. We'll see. If the team wins less than 9 games, I agree with you. Having a better couple of seasons because someone's hurt don't make them better. I don't know who you're referring to. The Giants got to sign Mitchell Schwartz. I wouldn't be opposed to it. If he's healthy, I think we could use another tackle. Everest Griffin was cut today. What's your thoughts? We talked about him last year too. Everest Griffin, how old is he now? And I don't even think he fits the scheme, to be honest with you. But Everest Griffin, and he had 2.5 sacks last year. He's 34 years old. No, I'm going to say no on him. Like I said, I don't even think he fits the scheme. He's not a stand-up outside linebacker in terms of being a pass rusher. I'm gonna give a hard pass on that one. What's going on, Tommy, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, buddy. What's going on there? Yo, Elvis. I just don't think Larry Tunsil's going to happen because of the money that he makes. I think that's the problem there, Giants for life. Do you think this is Shep's last year with the Giants? I do. And I hope not because I love Shep. But money talks, man. And we're in a tough salary situation next year. We drafted his inevitable replacement, Tony. I just don't see it. I don't see it. He'd save us a lot of money if we cut him next year. Maybe they could restructure it. I don't know. But I'm leaning that no, that Sterling Shepard more than likely will not be back. I'm not going to say it's definite, but I'm leaning no. What's going on there, PB Steve, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Hi, Chris. I like watching your live streams, but too bad I am not familiar with NFL stuff, so I just listen to it. I only focus much on NBA. Well, I'll be doing a lot of Knicks streams once the season gets underway, which will be in pretty soon, about 6 weeks. I'll start doing, I think the regular season starts. So I'll be doing some Knicks streams, and I'm actually going to try, obviously I'm going to be busy during the NFL season, but I'm going to try to do a weekly Knicks show if I can. And if not, maybe after the NFL season, I'll definitely have a weekly Knicks show. So be on the lookout for that, man. What's going on there? Any Muscle Man, thanks for popping in. Let's see. What do you think about Javi Baez? I think he's a clown for saying what he said. I disagree with what he said, to be completely honest with you. I think the fans, as long as they're not being disrespectful in terms of towards his family or whatever, fans have every right to boo a player when the Mets are performing the way that they are. So I think he's completely off base with that. And I think the biggest problem with Baez, I'm trying to defend him a little bit, even though I don't even think he deserves to be defended. He's coming from Chicago, and the Cubs fan base, their nickname is the Lovable Losers. Their fans don't boo anybody. They're the most supportive fan base in the world. And I think when you go from that environment to New York and you're not accustomed to what the New York fans are like, I could kind of see him being a little bit thrown off by it, but it was still a horrible response by Javi Baez. And Joe, man, thank you very much, man. Tunsil, you got to be stoned. Very good. That was a very good use of words there. Of course, with he had the Darth Vader mask on. And a big reason why the New York Giants did not draft him. You got to be stoned to think we could fit him under that. That's the thing, Joe. The guy makes way too much money. I just don't see how it's possible. NY Giants 26, man, thank you very much. I don't want Shep nor Pep to leave. I like the rhyme. And unfortunately, I think there's a good chance both are going to leave. I hope not. I love both of them. But it's a business, and there's a salary cap. And I hope not, but we'll worry about that in the offseason. There's going to be plenty to talk about this offseason, and that's going to be part of it. Jeremy, man, thank you very much. Conforto walk-off, Chris Javi. That's awesome. Great. Awesome, man. Jeremy, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. And so now they're hopefully only going to be 6 out. We'll see. But if they get closer, if they're, say, within 3 with 15 games to go, I'll start streaming a couple of Met games. But until they start showing me that they can get back in this race, I'm going to enjoy watching the Met games here and there from the TV. Keyshav, man, thank you so much for the $2 donation. I appreciate it, man. And what's up there, Silo Ren? This season can't come sooner. I can't wait, Informal, man. We have so many picks next year. Ingram, Pep, Shep will all probably – I don't think – the only guy that I think is coming back if he has a good year is Hernandez in terms of the big-name free agents. And maybe Carter, but I doubt it. If he has a good year, I think he's going to get paid somewhere else. So I think Hernandez, they're going to make an effort if he has a good year to re-sign him. That's my prediction. The others, probably not. Let's see. Yo, Chris, what's going on there, fam, with a mic? Is this Daniel Jones' year to fail? If he does, do you think Aaron Rodgers would be? No, I do not. I do not. I'm not saying that they shouldn't maybe pique interest, but I keep saying it. People ask me about Aaron Rodgers all the time. And again, I don't want to think about Daniel Jones failing, but I get this question a lot. If he does fail, and you are looking for a guy, an established quarterback, I just don't see the match. I don't see why Aaron Rodgers, very laid back guy, doesn't seem like the type of guy that would want to be running laps for Joe Judge. Not to mention an older quarterback. Do you want to go into a situation with a mediocre offensive line at best at that point? So I don't see it because Aaron Rodgers is going to get to pick the team that he's going to go to. I don't see the match with the Giants. When are you going back to your normal setup? 4 or 5 days. Most people seem to like this setup, but 4 or 5 days I'm going back to the normal setup. Country New Yorker, man, thank you very much. He says, what do you think Tony will do this year? If he's healthy, I think in terms of statistical reasonable expectations, 600 combined yards, 650 combined yards, rushing and receiving. That's if everybody stays healthy and he has the role that I think he's going to. If we have injuries, he may get more of an expanded role. But I think something along the lines of about, 200, 250 yards rushing, 400 yards receiving, and used in special teams. Kick returns, punt returns, wildcat. They're going to find ways to get him the ball out in space, but I don't think he's going to have like this huge role for this team this year. I just think there's too many weapons if they stay healthy with Shepard, Slayton, Barkley, Galladay, Ingram, Rudolph. So I would say 600 to 650 combined yards used in specials and being a guy that you definitely have to worry about if you're on the opposing defense with all the things that he could do when he gets out in space. Let's see. Tony would sniff. It would be nice to send Jones and 2 first-round picks to Houston for. I don't think they'd want Jones, to be honest with you, right now with the amount of money he makes and as unproven as he is. And what's going on? No man, thanks for popping in. Hit the notification bell to get. Yeah, if you haven't done so, hit that thumbs up. I never say it. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell. I'm gonna be live a lot more now that the season's coming around. Obviously, I'm not gonna go live just to go live when there's something really to talk about. Like the last 2 days, we made a couple of trades. We had the rosters. Yada, yada, yada. But during the season, I'm going to be live 5 days a week because we're going to be doing Saturday night. We're going to be doing the game. Monday, we're going to be recapping the game. We'll be live a lot. So if you like football content, if you like hanging out, talking sports, you're in the right spot. Thank you guys for being here. T says, with the unlimited returns from the IR, maybe Sills to the practice squad. I think Sills will be on the practice squad if he doesn't get claimed. Ross to the IR and Sills moves up day one till Ross is healthy. If Ross is not healthy, that's possible. If Ross is not ready to go week 1, that's possible. I think Ross is going to be ready, but I don't know that for a fact. From some of the things I read, it sounds like he may be ready week 1, but that's not definitive. And what's going on there, Ryan D-Man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. What's up, Zahid? And Yuri says, Raymond Johnson better represent number 90. He took on a lot of pressure with that number, didn't he? Justin Tuck's old number. That's a lot of pressure, man. But I'm glad that he made the team. When I watched some of his highlights, I was impressed with him after we picked him up as an undrafted free agent. I'm glad he made the team and hopefully make some kind of impact. Let's see what we got here. Thank you for going live Monday and making the day. You got it, Ryan D, man. Thank you so much for being here. Chris, how do you think about I missed it, but somebody asked me a Lakers question. I don't know much about the Lakers. Signing Rajon Rondo back to the team. To be honest with you, I don't know much about it. I don't watch the Lakers. I know that they got Russell Westbrook. I know they got Anthony Davis. I know they got LeBron James. And I know that I'm hoping they lose, but they're not going to. I never root for the Lakers because they're always the favorite. I'm more of an underdog guy, but the Lakers are going to be one of the favorites. The Nets are going to be one of the favorites, and they'll probably play each other in the finals if they stay healthy. Who's going to claim Sills? No one. I think he'll be on the practice squad. It's possible he gets clean, but Joe, I tend to agree with you. I think there's a good chance he gets back on the practice squad. Pissed on the Lakers, Afghanistan says, that's right, man. Why do we pick up 2 fullbacks? Well, we didn't pick him up. He was on the roster all year, but we rostered 2 fullbacks. And that's as of now. I want to continue to say that. That doesn't mean he's going to be rostered day 1. He may be holding a roster spot for a 4th tight end. We'll see. But if he does make the team, it's because of specials. That's why we brought Gillespie in the first place. He was known as a very good special teams player. That's why the Giants brought him in to begin with. So that's why if he does make the final team. And I think I saw Bobby say something. He says, don't worry, the Nets will win. Bobby's confident in his Nets. I mean, if I was a Nets fan, I'd be confident too. I mean, if you guys could stay healthy, you guys got what, 3 of the top 10 or 15 players on the planet. So I'd be confident too. I'm not going to lie to you, even though I rag on the Nets any chance I get, but you guys got a lot of talent there. Stupendous, man. Thank you very much. Record prediction after the Pats game. Mine went down. My record prediction is not going to change based off a preseason game. I know some fans are going to go bananas, and it happens every year. People go crazy. My records, I don't know, and everybody's got their own opinion. I can't change my record prediction based off a preseason game. And if there were injuries, that's another story. Everybody stayed healthy. It's a vanilla playbook. They didn't have Saquon Barkley, which we all know changes the offense. They didn't have Kenny Galladay. It was Daniel Jones' first action all year. I'm not changing my expectations based off a preseason game. My expectations after free agency was 9-8. My expectations after the draft was 9-8. My expectations before preseason was 9-8. My expectations are still 9-8. That's what I think they're going to go. 9 wins. And let's see what we got here. I think the floor for the Giants will be 7-10. I think 6 or 7 wins is the absolute floor. And I think 11 or maybe 12, if everything broke right, is the ceiling. But I think between 8 and 10 wins is realistic. How is Evan Ingram still on the team? From what I heard, Brian, he has actually naked pictures of John Mara's wife. That's what I heard. I don't know that for fact. I have a source from within the New York Giants organization, and I don't know how many people would want to see that. No disrespect, Mr. Mara, but that's what I heard. I heard he's got some nude photos of John Mara's wife, and that's why Evan Ingram is still on the roster for the New York Giants. That's just the rumors that I've heard through the grapevine. Because I couldn't imagine any other reason as to why he'd still be on this football team. Let's see what we got. Nate Ebner has to have naked pictures of Joe Judge's wife. What number we put in tone? I saw the Pixies. Oh, so there you go. Mr. Glass will not be on this roster after. I agree. This is last season on the team, Phil Pennings. Let's see. You read that too? I'm telling you guys, man. What about Isaiah Wilson? Obviously the right tackle from Georgia, right? He played opposite Andrew Thomas, and I forgot what it was. Why did Wilson get cut again? It had something to do. Was it COVID related or was it a gun? I think it was a gun thing, right? It was I don't remember, but he got cut. He had like off the field problems, and I don't see the Giants bringing in a guy like that. I just don't. They preach culture. I don't see it. I don't think they're going to do that. I just don't see it. Behavior issues. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I'm surprised Evan Ingram still has the pictures the way the ball drops. Let's see. Has to be the case. Ingram is the only tight end I know that can lose like 10 games for the team he's on and still play like crap. You know what it is, Afghanistan? It's the potential. But it never comes to fruition, but it's the potential. That's why Evan Ingram stays on the roster. That's why Evan Ingram continues to get opportunities. There's potential, but it just always seems like it just never all comes together for him. And Sticky Fingers, man, thank you very much. I'm just happy we cut that substitute teacher wearing a jersey, David Sills. He was just like Gallman, trash, but overvalued by fans because he's homegrown. I don't want to say that about him, man. I don't want to say he was trash. I mean, he seems like a really good guy. He's a hard worker, and he definitely improved his craft. And I still think he could ultimately end up being on an NFL roster one day. He's tall, good red zone target. I don't want to call him trash, but I do agree, if I'm being completely honest, I do think the fan base overrated him a little bit. I was rooting for him. I wanted him to make the team. But yeah, I think the fan base overrated him a little bit. And stand up. What's going on there? Brandon, man, thanks for popping in. What's going on there? Elvis, man, thanks for popping in. And Nerf Swag said, didn't we add a coach to spice up the vanilla? We did. We added the guy from LSU. Somebody said his name earlier. Why does the name escape me right now? Callaway. We added him from LSU. We're supposed to add wrinkles to the offense. We'll see what happens there. Again, it's preseason. You can't really judge the plays yet, at least in my opinion, yet. And we promoted Freddie Kitchens to be kind of, I think his title was like assistant offensive coordinator. If it wasn't that, he definitely got a promotion where it seems as if he's going to have more say in terms of the game planning on the offense this year. So they definitely made changes to the coaching staff in terms of trying to change the offense a little bit. And we'll see what happens. I don't expect the same exact offense this year. I'll tell you that right now. And by the way, I see somebody saying the Giants going to start the year 3-0. I'm not saying that, but the one thing I will say, Giants got some good news today. And again, I'm not trying to make light of the situation in New Orleans. Obviously, it's horrible with the hurricane and everything. But the good news for the Giants, the Superdome is maybe the toughest place to play in the NFL. You think about those Saints teams, they're built to play on the turf. They build their team around speed. The stadium is very loud. That is notoriously a very tough place to play. Well, now because of the hurricane, the Saints will not be playing at home against the New York Giants for that game, week 4. And Michael Thomas was officially put on the PUP list today for the Saints. So Michael Thomas will not be playing against the New York Giants, and it will not be in the Superdome. Where it will be, most people are pointing to probably Dallas, which also works out for the Giants because they're playing Dallas the following week in Dallas. So I don't know if you stay over for a week. I don't know what they decide to do. But if they are playing in Dallas, they're going to Dallas anyway the following week. So I thought that was interesting. And let's see. How did the Cowboys have a 58-man roster today because don't know, Matt. I don't know. What's up, Jameson? Man, thanks for popping in. Tough road for Sills. He was tough. I have us going 0-2 versus Denver, Washington, but winning in Atlanta and New Orleans. I'm okay with that. I mean, I've said either 3-2 or 2-3, Andy. That's where I have us. If we win the first game against Denver, I'm leaning 3-2. If we ever beat Washington, I'm leaning 4-1. But if we win the first game, I think I'm going to predict 3-2 over the first 5. If we lose the first game, I think I'm going to predict 2-3 over the first 5. The first game is going to be tough, but I think it's definitely a winnable game. Yeah, 2 weeks. Well, that's just a rumor. That's not confirmed, but I think they're practicing in the Dallas area because of the hurricane. So people are speculating that that game could very well be played in Dallas. That's not confirmed, but that's what I read. What are we talking about, Chris? We're talking about rainbows and butterflies and chess. Actually, we've been talking about chess for almost an hour and 40 minutes. I'm still. We've already gone over the bishop. We've gone over the pawn. I did a little bit on the queen. Now we're starting to transfer to the rook. And we'll get into that in a bit, Jameson. But we've been talking about chess for about an hour and a half. But thanks for popping in, Jameson. I appreciate it, buddy. Hey, Chris, what's up, my man? What's going on there, Vasily, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, my man. What's going to happen to Aaron Robinson? He's going to start on the pup. He's going to miss the first 6 weeks, and hopefully he's back by week 7. But he's been hurt all at training camp. And Jeffrey, man, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it, man. He says, woot, woot. Let's bring back the 2008-2012 Magic. Did Gary Brightwell make the cut? He looked to be in good form on Sunday. Yeah, Gary Brightwell did make the cut. He got to play with the first team. And I in my prediction video, I actually predicted Brightwell was going to make the team before the game. And then when I saw him with the first team, that really confirmed my belief. So, yeah, he got some exposure with the first team. They used him a lot more in the second game. And that started to lead me to believe that he was going to make the team. A couple things I was impressed with Brightwell. I thought his pass catching was much better than advertised. He's supposed to be good in special teams, and you had to figure he had a very good chance to make the team due to the fact that we drafted him. So I'm glad Brightwell made the team, and we'll see how he does. He seems like he's at least a hard runner. When he runs, he seems to run with aggression. Whether or not it will be effective, that remains to be seen, but I'm glad that he made the team. And yeah, man, hopefully we do get to bring back that magic. And NY Giants 26, man, thank you very much. He says, it's not a Tana stream if it ain't talking about 300. If it ain't talking about 350-pound men. Yeah, I dream about them all the time. I said it in my last stream. And we finally got offensive linemen. And how you feeling about the roster? I like it. I mean, the offensive line still scares me, the tackles, but I like what they did. I like the additions to the interior portion of the offensive line. I think we got some much-needed depth. So I like where it's headed, Jay Lune. I like what we did these last couple of days. And Darian says, just came in. What are your thoughts on the cuts and trade? The trade's a no-brainer. And I'm curious to – well, I'm going to watch Bobby's video after this, so I'm curious to get his take on it. But the trade's a no-brainer. We gave up I'm going to project that pick to be about 115 to 120 next year. I'm projecting the pick we get back to be about 160. And we got a future 7th-round pick. And we got a lineman that was regarded as one of the top 4 interior offensive linemen in the 2020 draft who went in the 4th round. That's a no-brainer trade for me. And we needed depth on the offensive line. The trade's a no-brainer. In terms of the cuts, I mean, I'm not really surprised with Ifeadi Odenigbo. He didn't have a good training camp. I'm not surprised with Corey Clement. I was surprised with Jonathan Harrison, but then when they made the trade, it made more sense. He's replacing what Jonathan Harrison would have been, that interior offensive lineman. So obviously that cut makes a lot more sense. So I don't really have much to complain about in terms of the cuts. Maybe if you want to nitpick a cut here and there, but overall, nothing really startling. The only startling thing for me was Harrison, and then they made the trade. So nothing really for me to complain about. I think for the most part, the guys that I thought were going to make the team made the team. And, and I'm ready to go for football season, man. But Darren, man, thank you very much, buddy. And JC says, DJ must be as good as Rivers Romo to keep him, at least. Not a big fan of those guys, but that's the franchise quarterback line for me, in my opinion. What do you think? Yes, I agree. Eventually, he has to. Yes. If we're going to give him a second contract, he has to be on that level. And I'm going to continue to say it doesn't need to be by the end of this year. He needs improvement by the end of this year, a good amount of improvement. But by the time we give him that contract, yes, I agree. He has to be on that level of quarterback, a guy that's a top 8 quarterback, top 9 quarterback in the league. You can't give a guy the amount of money that quarterbacks make that's league average. You can't do it. He's got to be a top 10 quarterback. No doubt about it, in my opinion. Again, for me, he doesn't have to be there yet by the end of this year, but he needs to be trending that way. Hopefully what Tana said is true, that he was learning new tech. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hoping, Evan. I don't know that. but that's what I'm hoping. He's got a new offensive line coach. That's what you use preseason for to work on new things. That's what I'm hoping in terms of Andrew Thomas. Jones hasn't been helped out a lot by just Garrett or the offensive line. I think he stays after this year. We'll see. Needs improvement. Doesn't need to be incredible. Needs improvement. Check Dan Duggan. Let me take a look. Dan Duggan. Or Dugan, however it's pronounced. Giants left guard. Oh, my God. It's not the end of the world yet, but it does not sound good, guys. Oh. Can we ever go a day with, just good news? Probably explains the trade today. Giants left guard Shane Lemieux has a partially torn patellar tendon, per sources. Lemieux has missed 2 stretches of practices during camp. He participated in today's walkthrough, and then the plan is for him to try to play through the injury without surgery. Well, that would make it the offensive lineman that we were just brought in is if he cannot play this year, will more than likely start. So there you go. We'll see. Hopefully he can play through it, but not the best of news there, man. Not the best of news there. But not good. And MY Giants 26 says Chris shows the way 350-pound man. They are, man. I might be dreaming about more 350-pound men after that news. Sergio says, I think Joe Judge has been overrated by the fan base. Please explain what makes him so special. It's yet to be determined for me in terms of whether or not he's special. I think there's things about him I like, but until he wins, he's not special. He's unproven. He's unproven with I think he's shown potential to be a very good coach. But until the production is there, he's not a sure thing. And I say it all the time, Sergio. I love Joe Judge, okay? I'm supporting Joe Judge. I think Joe Judge could be a long-term answer, but I am not going to put the cart before the horse. I think a lot of Giants fans are doing that, and I personally think that's a mistake. I think when you put those kind of expectations on a coach before he should be given them, you're giving the guy way too much pressure, and you're setting him up for failure. People build people up to knock them down. And if you listen to this fan base right now, I'm not defending Gettleman at all. A lot of his decisions have been bad. I would not have been in favor of doing even though I love what we got in terms of the value for the trade, I would have drafted an offensive lineman if it was me. But everybody, when anything ever goes good with this team over the last 2 years, it's because of Joe Judge. Whenever anything goes bad with this team, it's because of Dave Gettleman. You got to make up your mind. If they're working collaboratively, if you're going to give Judge the credit for one thing, he's got to get blamed for the other. And I do think there's a wide portion of this fan base that thinks this guy could do no wrong, and that is dangerous, I think, long-term, until he proves himself. He needs results. I like Joe Judge. I like the direction. I like how he's building this football team, the culture he's bringing, but I do agree that he is unproven still, which any coach would be that was in his situation. He's 38 now, 39 years old, going into his second year. He took over a poor football team. He needs to establish himself more. I agree with that. And Edge, man, thank you very much. This is why you have to draft offensive line early every year. I agree. Until you get the offensive line, I'm not saying it's got to be first round, but if I was a GM, I would draft an offensive lineman in probably every draft. Not in the first round, of course, but I would. That's what the Saints do every year. The Saints always bring in new offensive linemen. It's why they have the best offensive line in the sport. Greetings from Germany. Thanks for the great content. You got it, Felix, man. Thanks so much for being here, buddy. And Sergio, thank you very much. Perfectly explained. I like him too, but to say he's the next big thing is crazy. He has been involved in every decision Giants fans get mad at. I agree. I like him, and I think he's done a lot of good things. I think he's built a very good culture. I think the players are buying in. I think he's well prepared. I think he's well spoken. He's the type of guy that I think we needed. We needed a disciplinarian. I think we had a lot of soft coaches the last 2 times here, and I think that's why Giants fans are drawn to him. But at the same time, he's not allergic to criticism. And if you're going to say that they work together and everything's been so much better since Judge got here, well, when things start to go a little bad and you don't agree with it, well, then Judge has to be somewhat responsible for that also. That's just my opinion on it. And Robert, man, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Our scouting department needs a refresh. We have missed constantly in the draft, and we clearly have issues developing guys. Help the New York Giants. I mean, what's up, Dust Thunder, man? Thanks for popping the stream. We'll find out this year, Robert. I think there's still a lot of questions with some of these guys we've drafted early. Let's hope Will Hernandez takes off. Let's hope Saquon Barkley could stay healthy this year and regain his form from his rookie year. Let's hope Daniel Jones takes off with the help that he's been provided. Let's hope Andrew Thomas improves. So I am not going to come to a distinct conclusion on these young players because I do think a lot of times it's going to take a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years for some young players to really hit their stride. But I'm going to tell you what, if they don't start to ascend this year with the help they've now been provided with, like I get it a little bit. Like I try to be as fair as I can. The previous 2 years, we broke down the roster. There was not a lot of talent around these players. So it's very hard for those players to hit their ceiling when they don't have a lot of help around them, right? Because we completely tore up the roster and we started to build through the draft. But now that we started to bring in help, if we don't see these players start to improve, yes, you have to start questioning things about the organization. There's no denying it. There's no denying it, man. But thank you very much, Robert, man. I appreciate it, buddy. And let's see. And Simon, he says, I'm moving toward the idea that Getty's full of We'll see this year, man. I'm going to give him a fair opportunity, and see what the team's made of this year. I'm not going to go in with I'm going to go in with an open mind, and I'm going to hope that what he did was right. I've agreed with a lot of the things Gettleman has done in the past, and I've disagreed with a lot of it. I'm going to give him the fair opportunity to hopefully prove that he's right. We'll see. But I think some of the things that he did this offseason was questionable, specifically in the draft. Although I can't argue in terms of the trade down. I love what he got in terms of value for the trade down. I just personally think they should have paid more attention to the offensive line. Mills with the skills. He says, we got a fifth and a seventh. Yeah, we got a fifth. Let me go over the trade real quick, Mills. And thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. This was the trade here, Mills. This is the trade details. We got a former fourth-round pick. That's, the lineman we brought in, a former fourth-round pick. We gave up a fourth-round pick. And we got a fifth and a seventh. And the way that I try to equate that, the fourth you figure is going to be about pick 1, because usually the comp picks go to about 101, 102. Say we have a mid-round pick. Say we finish kind of middle in the pack this year. You're looking at like pick 117, 118. We're giving up in next year's draft. You figure we're going to be bringing back like pick 160, maybe like a mid to late fifth-round pick, 160, 165 at worst. So you're talking about a 40 pick difference, somewhere in that ballpark, maybe 45. But you're talking late in the draft, rounds 4, rounds 5. You're also getting a future seventh, and you're getting a lineman that was drafted the following year in the 4th round. We didn't give up a whole hell of a lot to bring in an offensive lineman with upside. So I think you should be happy with the trade. We didn't give up much, and we got a guy with upside that's going to provide his depth for the offensive line. So I think it was a good trade, man. And Rudy, man, thank you very much. Congrats on being the best. No, Rudy, you're the man, dude. And Rudy, I don't know if you were in the members stream. You might have been sleeping. But I want to let you know I'm doing a members stream before every Sunday game. I want to make sure you're there, obviously, because you've been a member of my channel forever. And not everybody checks the community notes. So I try to mention in the streams when I can. Before every game, I'm going to be live for about an hour. Just for you guys, for the members. And then obviously I go live on YouTube. But I'm going to be doing member streams probably from like 11 to 12 on game days for the Giants. So I want to make sure you get to show up. William, man, thank you very much. Captain America, Daniel Jones, and the New York Giants. What's going on, William, my man? I hope so, man. I hope he takes off. I'm rooting for him, man. I'll be if you were subscribed to my channel on draft day, that I was not fine with the pick. I flipped out, but at the end of the day, I'm a Giants fan. And I'm going to root my ass off for anybody that the New York Giants select. And, I'm drawn to play. I think most Giant fans are drawn to I think it's just a fan base. Like, we like to be doubted. Not all of us, but a lot of us. We like to be doubted. Like, we gravitate towards that underdog mentality. And I think when Daniel Jones was doubted by everybody and when Giants fans caught their breath and they had a chance to chill out, they're like, you know what? I'm going to get behind this guy. He's an underdog. Everybody's doubting this guy. And there's nobody on this team that I want to see prove the doubters wrong, because he's been doubted every step of the way. And I'm not saying that there's no validity behind it, but I am praying that Daniel Jones takes off this year. I would absolutely love to see it. And I hope the fan base gets behind him. I hope he has a good year. And we'll see. But I'm excited to see how he does this year. Simon, man, thank you very much, man. Hope you put all your money on the 5th round rook and pass. How you put all your money on the 5th round pick and pass on Slater. How you put all your money on a 5th round pick and pass on Slater? How you put all your money on a 5th round pick? Are you talking about the lineman we just acquired, 4th round pick, and pass on Slater? Is that what I don't know what you're referring to, but obviously I wasn't in favor of passing on Slater. And what's going on, Jameson, man? Thanks for popping in. Oh, you're talking about Shane Lemieux. Should have realized that. You're talking about Shane Lemieux. It's a risky move. It's a risky move. Not just Shane Lemieux, also Matt Parrott. They're banking on those guys to get much better this year, and I really, really hope that they're right, man. And what's up, EB Steve? Man, I remember that draft like it was yesterday. The excitement from having 2 first-rounders. We're going to have 2 first-rounders this year. Hopefully one's pick number 32. Hopefully we win the Super Bowl. But, yeah, we're going to have 2 first-rounders this year. We need DJ to do good or else we set back a year of contending. Yeah, well, yeah, it's definitely a reboot if we have to draft a quarterback. But hopefully that doesn't happen, man. What's going on, MYB? My man. Love MYB. By the way, I want to let you know, too. You're a member. So I'm going to be doing member streams, and I'll post in the community notes for about an hour every Sunday before the game. I'm not sure if you were in the last one. So every Sunday this year, weekly, from like 11 to 12, we're doing a stream. What do you think of the Broncos secondary? Dan Veer, the Broncos secondary is I don't have enough of a grasp on it. I know everybody's been saying that PFF rated it the best secondary in all of football. We'll see. Obviously, they brought in Patrick Surtain. We'll see. Surtain had a great preseason. I don't care. He's a rookie. I'm going to test him in the first game of his career. But obviously, they have a very good secondary. It's arguably the best in the league. It's one of the best in the league. And if the New York Giants are going to win this game, they're going to win it on the ground, and they're going to win it over the middle of the field. It's going to be very hard to challenge the outside, the corners on the outside. Maybe you try to hit Kenny Golladay with a jump ball, but it's going to be hard, man. They have a very good secondary. That's the strength of their football team. And obviously, they have a good pass rush as well with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. Is that snow? No. I was thinking the same thing, though. I don't know why. It must be the lighting, because it does. I don't know why it looks like snow on the thing, but yeah, no, it's not snow. And Simon, man, thank you very much. Is our O-line a problem again this season? I'm a cry, man. I think we'll all cry. I've been crying for 10 years. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you something. This is somebody messaged me this on Twitter. This has been, I thought it was a funny cartoon, so I retweeted it. This has been our offensive line for the last, where is it? I thought I retweeted. Maybe I didn't retweet it. Never mind. I guess I didn't retweet it. Never mind. I thought I did. But yeah, it was a funny cartoon that basically showed a guy going back in time, and he said, "What year is it?" And somebody asked him, "How's the Giants' offensive line?" He said it was horrible. He said, "Oh, it's between the years 2012 and 2035." And it's felt like it's been forever since we've had a good offensive line, man. Dan Duggan, Twitter. All right, let me take a quick look. Hold on. Dan Duggan. I already saw that. Horrible news. And hopefully it's nothing serious, but it sounds like it could be. Horrible news. Where did Ben Bredeson come? He went to college in Michigan, and he's from Baltimore. He played for the Ravens for a year. He was drafted in 2020. 4th round pick. Didn't get a chance to play there because they have, if not the best offensive line, one of the top 2 or 3 in the league. So he didn't get a chance to get on the field. And they kind of had a logjam there at the position, so they were looking to try to get something for him. Giants swooped in, they got him. He was in the same draft as Shane Lemieux. He was drafted a round earlier. Bredeson was drafted a year earlier. They played the same position. So certainly a guy that could step in and potentially start. And based on the Shane Lemieux news, that may explain, why, in fact, they made this trade. Blue Man, thank you very much. Hypothetical, if we have the chance to trade our 2 first-round picks on high-quality tackle, would you take it? High risk or DJ insurance for now? I would not. No, I would not. I would draft a tackle next year with one of those picks if Matt Parrott doesn't work out. But no, I invested a 4th overall pick on Andrew Thomas. I've now shown belief in Matt Parrott, and I have 2 first-round picks next year in case one of them doesn't work out. And I still need that insurance in case I need the quarterback. So I would not do it. No, I would not do it. I would love to get a proven tackle. And again, I don't see a team before the season starts even trading away a very good tackle. I would much sooner want to draft one, but yeah, I just don't see it happening, man. What's going on, Seth, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. We will be a running team with a great run block scheme. It should open up the play. I agree. I think we're going to be a run-first team, but I think we're going to take more shots down the field than we did last year. We spent a fortune this past offseason anyways. Yes, we did. Would you trade Nate? Well, I guess that would make the contracts offset, right? Because Nate Solder makes a lot of money. Nate Solder in a first round. Yeah, I'd probably do that. Yes, I would probably do that. A first round pick. Yes, I would probably do that. Yep, I think I would do that. I don't think it would happen, but I would do it. Hopefully, G-Men get a top 8 pick and a 18 to 26 pick. I'm hoping they get 32 and number 1, and we're responsible for 32. What's going on there, Craig? Man, thanks for popping in, buddy. Can we trade both our first round picks for Watson, please? That's not happening. We're not trading for Watson. It's not going to happen. They talk about culture, and then they're going to trade a guy that's being accused by all these women who won't be able to play this year, by the way. Watson's not going to play this year. It's just not going to happen, man. And Eddie, are you watching Hard Knocks? Yeah, I watched the first 3 episodes, I think. Did the new one that's tonight, right? Or is it tomorrow? Is it Tuesdays or Wednesdays that Hard Knocks is on? I watched the last one. I actually have been pretty bored by Hard Knocks this year. And maybe it's because it's the Cowboys. Eddie, man, thank you very much. I joined late. What did I miss, Tana? We made a trade today. And we got I'll go over the details real quick again. This is the final roster. You could pause it if you want to read it. But this is the final roster here. Let me get rid of your super chat so you can see the bottom of it. But this is the final roster here. In terms of surprises, not crazy surprises, but Raymond Johnson took the spot of B.J. Hill, who, of course, we traded on the defensive line. Linebackers, Trent Harris made the team. And Fedi Adenabo got cut. And Sam Beal made the team, which I guess is a surprise. So those are some of the surprises. And in terms of the player we acquired a former 4th-round pick in the 2020 draft. Didn't get an opportunity to play with the Ravens, but I'll pull up a couple things again. We'll go over it again real quick. The Giants are not getting proven commodities with their trades for Billy Price and Ben Bredeson, who's the offensive lineman we acquired. But the upsides of those 2 players are far better than what they had. They still lack veteran depth, but the depth is better now. So young players with upside that really haven't gotten much of an opportunity yet in the league. That's basically what he's saying. Bredeson is 6'5", 315 pounds with a 4th-round pick last year in Baltimore. Played pretty well during the preseason. I'm told was an odd man out. So really, it's not that he had poor play. It's that he was, at least the way it sounds, wasn't getting the opportunity to get on the field. And then this is the trade details. Giants traded a 2022 4th-round pick for Ben Bredeson, who was a 4th-round pick in the 2020 draft, a 5th-round pick, and a 2023 7th-round pick. So basically, they got a guy who was a 4th-round pick in the 2020 draft for a 4th-round pick. In addition to that, they also got back a 5th and a 7th. So they didn't give up much, and they got a guy that at least could step in and provide his depth or potentially start. And it looks like he might if this injury to Lemieux prohibits him from playing this year, and hopefully that won't be the case. Giselle, man, thank you very much. First game in 9 days. Can't wait for the girls to lose. Yes, Thursday. I'm going to be calling that game. We're going to have fun on the channel. I'll be ready to go for that game, man. I'm excited. Obviously, I'm going to be a lot more excited for the Giant game, but opening night, Cowboys, Bucks, I think we're going to get to celebrate opening night. I think the Bucks are going to blow them out, but that'll be a really fun game to call, and hopefully the Bucks tear that defense apart. They get off to a nice 0-1 start. Pretty stacked O-line. The Ravens fans think their O-line is bad, though. They lack depth. Yeah, I mean, I think that they're known to have one of the best offensive lines in football. And now I know they went out there and they signed Kevin Zeitler this year, but well, here's what I'll say, Sancho. They had a stacked offensive line, and then they had the issue with the tackle that they had to trade because he said he wanted to play left tackle, but they couldn't play him over there. He's one of the best tackles in football. And then they brought in Zeitler. But the previous season, they had, which was his rookie year, they had a stacked offensive line. Simon, man, thank you very much. He says, our O-line is so bad they should be hired as turnstile. Yeah, they also drafted Ben Cleveland. Yep, the guy that a lot of New York Giants fans wanted. Did I see? Yeah, I saw it. Well, I haven't seen it live, but yeah, I saw it on Hard Knocks. Yes, and it's ridiculous. Their practice facility is nicer than most stadiums. Giannis. Does Ben Bredeson have potential to be better than Shane? Yes, I think he is. I would say that he should be better than Shane Lemieux. He was more highly regarded coming out of college. He was drafted earlier. He just hasn't been able to get on the field. And Lemieux got an opportunity to get on the field because our offensive line isn't that good. And obviously, last year, Will Hernandez got COVID, which is really when he got his opportunity. But, yeah, I think he should be at least as good as Lemieux based off the pre-draft hype, and we'll see. Robert, man, thank you very much, man. He says, worst Wills, Thomas, Slater. Getty takes Thomas under assumption he is best in class. He is the worst. So far, he's the worst in class, yes. Same with DJ. Can't miss on those he did. If Andrew Thomas is bad this year, he's gone. Andrew Thomas has to be good this year, and Daniel Jones has to be good this year. If they're not good, Dave Gettleman's gone. And I think we knew that before the year started. I don't need, what's his name, whoever said that, Riddick. That was self-explanatory. We know that going in. If Daniel Jones sucks, if Andrew Thomas sucks, Dave Gettleman's fired. Period. End of story. Put up or shut up year for Gettleman. Put up or shut up year for Daniel Jones. So we'll see. But absolutely, if those draft picks fail, Dave Gettleman deserves to lose his job. You're talking about the 4th overall pick. You're talking about the 6th overall pick. Yeah, you need to cash in when you're a GM with those picks. And Ian, thank you very much. What if Shane can't play through injury? What if Shane can't play through injury? If he can, he's going to start. But if he can't, you have to figure that Brederson's going to be starting at the guard position. That's the only thing that makes rational sense to me. Unless Price, maybe Price would, or maybe Price could play the center and you'd shift Gates to the guard. I think maybe the Giants are giving themselves some options on the offensive line in case Lemieux can't play. But one of those guys is probably going to be inserted into the starting lineup. As a matter of fact, not probably, will be. When you look at the offensive line right now, the only other backup besides Bryce and Brederson is Solder, who's a tackle. So if Lemieux's unable to go, one of those two guys will be inserted into the starting lineup unless they pick somebody else up. And Raphael, man, thank you very much, man. He says, better team, the 2007 Giants or the 2011 Giants? It's not even close in terms of a team. It's not even close. If you just take away the quarterback, who was the same quarterback, but in 2011, Eli was a much better quarterback than he was in 2007. If you just look at the team, the 2007 Giants blow the 2011 Giants out of the water. The 2007 Giants had one of the best offensive lines in football. They probably had the best defensive line in football. The 2007 Giants had a mediocre quarterback because that's what Eli was at that point in time. And they went 10-6. And obviously Eli, started to heat it up in the playoffs where I think he threw like 6 touchdowns and 1 pick or something. He had a really good playoff. And he was clutch as hell. But the 2007 Giants were much better than the 2011 Giants. The 2011 Giants had the 32nd ranked running attack in football. People don't realize that. The worst ranked rushing attack in all of football for the year in 2011. And they had the 27th ranked defense in terms of yardage. Of course, there were some injuries that year, and they started to heat up come playoff time. But for all the people that say that Eli Manning was carried, couldn't be further from the truth in 2011. Now, if you factor in the quarterback and how much better Eli Manning was, it evens it out a little bit because Eli Manning was a top 5 quarterback that year. So it evens it out a little bit. But in terms of the overall team, it's not even close. The 2007 Giants are much better than the 2011 Giants. And, the 2008 team was much better than both. I agree. If Burris doesn't shoot himself, we win. I'm sorry for the bots, guys. I guess the bots have been popping in and out of the streams every now and again. It seems like it's been happening in a lot of people's YouTube channels. So I apologize. Hopefully my mods are on top of it. But, I apologize. Cam Fleming was cut by the Broncos. Huh. I don't want to say it because I know you guys hate Cam Fleming. But would you be so against bringing him back as a backup? I personally don't think Cam Fleming was as bad as people made him out to be last year. He wasn't good, and I don't want him in the starting lineup. But would I be opposed to a guy that's familiar with playing with these guys in the past who could play on both sides of the line to be a backup tackle? I think he's a serviceable backup. I think he's a serviceable backup. I don't want him starting. And Von, man, thank you very much. I appreciate it, man. He says, "What's up, Chris? Long time. Wow, Mets score 5. Yeah. They won in the ninth earlier. Yeah, they were telling me. I thought Fleming was subpar, not awful. Yeah, he's not a starter. He's a backup. Yeah, he's not a starter. Let's see what we got. Authentic says, watch Wayne Gallman come back to the Giants after being cut. You never know, man. And Sports Influence says, I don't see why not. I know people don't want to hear that because they hated Fleming last year, and I don't want him starting, but I don't think it's the worst idea in the world as a backup. I doubt the Giants do it. But thoughts on Billy Price, a guy with upside. I like the trade. We traded a guy who wasn't going to be on the team next year anyway. We were deep at that position with B.J. Hill. I wish him nothing but the best. For a guy with upside at the center spot. Big Daddy says no to Fleming. So Big Daddy's out, man. We need depth, so why not? Yeah, I mean, there's probably better options out there. I was just thinking along the lines as a backup, a tackle that's played with these guys before. But there's probably better options. But, yeah, we're going to close this out in about 5 minutes. I usually go for about 2 hours. I wish I could have said it. I'm surprised Sam Bill made the team. He still may not make the opening day roster, Andre. I just want to say thank you to all you guys. I always have so much fun doing these streams with you guys. This stream blew up. Obviously, it was a big day with the 53-man roster and everything else. Had over like 1,100 people in here at one point. So thank you guys for all the support you guys always show, man. I cannot wait for the football season to get started, being live with you guys a lot more. Going to be doing a lot more shows. Going to be doing roundtables. Going to be having other Giants YouTubers on as the season gets underway. On Saturday nights, I'm going to be having call-ins where you guys get to video in. So get to voice your opinion as well. So looking forward to doing all of that. Thank you guys for being here. All the support you guys always show, man. Let's see what we got. No point in oh no, I'm late. I was busy all day. Nah, man, don't ever apologize, man. Thanks for popping in at all, man. You can always watch the replay. I'm gonna miss baseball. Yeah. Well, you're gonna make the playoffs. You're a Braves fan. You're gonna make the playoffs. Do we get into a mini rebuild if we lose Shep, Peppers, or Ingram to patch holes? I mean, that's dependent on Daniel Jones this year. It's dependent on the offensive line and Daniel Jones. If they take a stride forward, no. Every team loses players, man. You look at the New England Patriots during their era of dominance. It's just the nature of the sport, right? They lost Nate Solder, who was a starting left tackle for them. Then they lost Brown, who was another starting left tackle for them. And they just kept replacing them through the draft. Every team loses good players. Just part of the business. You can't hold on to all of them. So, no, I mean, if Daniel Jones is good this year, we're absolutely not rebuilding. Thanks, Chris. Great stream as always. I appreciate it, G-Man John. How about we get Bobby Hart? No thanks. Bobby Hart or Fleming. Yeah, again, I want to say it. They're not when I'm talking about these guys, I'm not talking about them as starters. I'm talking about them as backups. Starting next week, we get football games 3 days of the week. Thursday, Sunday, Monday. Can't wait, man. Bobby Hart or Fleming. Oh, I just read that. Yeah, I just said that earlier, Alfonso, and I knew that people were going to be pissed off when I brought it up, but I don't think it's the worst idea in the world for a minimum as a backup. But Aiden says you guys are already rebuilding. Aiden, let me ask you a question, and I'm not saying we may be rebuilding next year, but if you're rebuilding, do you go out there and trade away draft picks to bring in players? Do you go out there and spend like $200 million in an offseason to bring in free agents? So it may not work out. That could be accurate, but we're definitely not rebuilding right now. I mean, we may be in the midst of what we're hoping is approaching the tail end of the rebuild, but yeah, we're definitely not rebuilding right now. We're trying to compete. Would you bring Cam Newton as a bat? No, I would not. I would not bring Cam Newton in. Still wants Tuzar skipper. Afghanistan always says that with Tuzar skipper. Yeah, we're reloading, Josh. We're definitely not rebuilding. We might be next year if it doesn't work out. Wayne trade available, Chris. Tell Judge to make it happen. I wouldn't be against it as a backup. As soon as somebody told me that, I said I wouldn't be against it as a backup. If I had a team, I would totally bring in Bad Dog for speeches. Oh, he'd be great. He'd probably kill the players, but as long as Jones is the guy, we aren't rebuilding. Exactly. If you got to draft the quarterback, you're rebuilding. Yeah, that is what you do to get better, but unless you show it on the field, you still – yeah. I mean, Yeah. They're not rebuilding, though. I mean, they were rebuilding, and now they're hoping they are starting to hit their stride this year. Los Collect says, I'm upset about not seeing Clement and Effetti. Do you feel the same? I didn't expect Clement to make the team, so I'm not going to say I was upset there. I thought they'd go with Brightwell. They drafted him in the 6th round, and they were starting to give him more playing time in the preseason, so I'm not upset there. I know a lot of Giants fans wanted Clement to make the team. And Effetti Adenabo, he was a guy I was very high on when we signed him. I thought he'd be a really nice addition to this defense that we got for almost next to nothing. But at the end of the day, he didn't fit the scheme very well. They asked him to do something that he wasn't really comfortable with. He didn't perform well in training camp. And, he got outplayed. So it is what it is. They went with the guy that had a better training camp. And, he missed the roster. So it is what it is. I can't say I'm upset. He didn't have a good training camp. Trent Harris outperformed him. So, no, I'm honestly not surprised either one of them missed the team. I thought if any Adenabo was at least 50-50 to make it, but I'm not shocked that either one of them missed the team. But guys, I am going to close it out. I just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you guys for all the continued support that you guys always show on the channel. You guys are unbelievable. Best supporters on YouTube. Always have so much fun talking football with you guys, sports, whatever else it may be. Overall, really like the trade. We'll wait about the Shane Lemieux news. Obviously not the best of news today. They came out with that. Giants got their 53-man roster. We're ready to go, man. First game's in 12 days. 12 days, New York Giants kickoff. So I know you guys are excited about that. We'll have an opening day, I think, in 9 days with the Bucs and the Cowboys. I'll be on the channel calling that game as well. But you guys are the best. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you guys soon. And as always, if you like what you watch, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers. Be good, everybody. I'll see you guys. I'm sure I'll see you soon. I think we're going to be on Bad Dogs this week for Talking Giants, I think. I can't even remember. I think we're on mine this week. I don't even remember. I'm gonna be with Bad Dog. It's gonna be on one of our channels this week. So have a good night, everybody.